Almighty God, ruler of heaven and earth, we beseech thee to inspire and guide all our counsels and actions, so that we may always walk in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. Help us with thy grace to do only things that will promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria. Amen. Good morning, distinguished colleagues. Thank you for being here. I'll give 2 minutes now for the consideration of vote and proceedings, yesterday's vote and proceedings for Monday, 28th November 2017. Yes, distinguished colleagues, I hope you have gone through the page 1 of the vote and proceedings. I thought I saw hands up before. Okay. Honorable Bello Karai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Bello Abdulkadir Karai, member representing Kano South. Mr. Speaker, observation on this paper is fourth youth parliament, fourth or third, fourth youth parliament. I think it's
what number?
Top. Is this fourth or third? These observations.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Distinguished Honorable, your observation is noted, and the Secretariat will change will make necessary corrections. Thank you for the observation. Alaji Poti. Thank you. Yes, any other observation? From page 1 of the vote and proceedings of Monday, 28th November 2017. I can see one hand up. Sorry. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Honorable Felicity Utange, representing the youth of Benue Central. My observation is still from the top. It's third youth parliament, third sitting, not session.
Okay, thank you, Honorable. Well observed. I think, as in legislatively, I think it's correct. It's third session. Yes, I see. But at least we have further questions from the clerk, and if there's any need for any corrections, it will be effected by the secretariat. Thank you. Kabir Zubero Sheme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Kabir Zuberi Shemi, member representing Kazna South in the Nigerian Youth Parliament, and also Secretary of the Northwest Caucus of the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, yesterday you made mention your visit to London, which was fully sponsored by Westminster, and also it has not been shown here. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished honorable. Then it's going to be reflected on, the correction. Honorable Sanusi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Sanusi Akubu, member representing Sokoto East Senatorial District. I have an observation on the 4B item 4. The lead consultant on national policy formulation is a national policy review, not formulation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, thank you, distinguished honorable. As in, it will be corrected, and it will reflect, on the corrected version of this. As in, thank you for the observation. It's well noted. Yes, Alaji Put, honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, my name is Bello Abdulkadir Karay, member representing Kano South. This is Roman number 4, national use policy. It's not national policy. National use policy. The use is missing. So I want you to.
Yes, the use was missing, and you have found it now. So the correction, it will be imputed into it. Thank you very much. Any other observation? Distinguished colleagues, in the absence of no other observation, can someone please move to adopt the resolution? Honorable Prosper here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the absence of no other deliberation, I hereby move for the adoption of the last resolution of Parliament.
Honorable Jinadu Yahweh, could you please second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do second the motion heavily moved by Honorable Prosper.
Distinguished colleagues, if you are in support of the motion that we should adopt the vote and proceedings of Monday, 28th November 20, page 1 of the vote and proceedings of Monday, 28th November 2017, please say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say no. The ayes have it. Oath. The majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the next item on the list is the taking of votes. Mr. Speaker, you may call Okon Roda Okbem, Akwa Ibom South Senatorial District for the vote taken. Thank you.
Ms. Okon Roda, do you please step forward?
You repeat after me. I,
I, Okon Roda Upong, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
and affirm
and affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
to the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
that as a member of the Nigerian Youth Parliament,
that as a member of the Nigerian Youth Parliament,
I will perform my functions
I will perform my functions
honestly,
to
the best of my ability,
faithfully,
and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Go to the speaker, have a handshake. No, this way.
Distinguished colleagues, good morning once again. I want to appreciate you for the attendance, as in we recorded the large number of us coming for this sitting, as in for leaving whatever it is that you're doing and for to have stayed with us. And I want to sincerely apologize for the little itch in accommodation. It will be properly taken care of today for those that are very close to the airport. Very close to the airport. Please bear with us, as in every other arrangement will be perfected today. And I want to appreciate us, our distinguished members, the clerk, and all Ministry of Youth Staff and National Assembly staffs and management for the successful outing yesterday. The Honorable Minister made it to our sitting yesterday, and it was a very good one. As in, it portends a good future for Nigeria and Nigerian youth, because now Nigerian youth are beginning to get more interested in good governance, and by asking questions from relevant authorities. I think the Nigerian Youth Parliament is doing well in that regard. So I want to congratulate all of us here. This was made possible by the efforts of everyone here, and we all just charge us to keep it up. And we believe that if we continue with this attitude, Nigeria will be a greater nation that we all desire. Today, we are expecting the President of the Senate, as in he has already approved, but the time is what we are waiting for. We know any time it might breeze in. We know we are of good conduct. Parliamentarians have been groomed for good conduct, so we expect such, and possibly, as in you too will be drilled in the same manner that the Honorable Minister of Youth was drilled yesterday, and we got results for it. And also, the SA to the Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Students, Comrade Nasiru Adama, will be with us today on some youth developmental issues, and I think it too will be subjected to the progressive drill of the Nigerian Youth Parliament, the intellectual drill of the Nigerian Youth Parliament today. So he will be joining us in a bit. And we also have Mr. Abdul Adewale Aziz, Head Strategy and Research Unit, Courtview Business Solution PLC. We are gravitating towards an economy that is being fueled by vocational skills development and entrepreneurship skills development. So we are bringing in investors that have been empowering youth in this aspect, and would still like to do more and partner with the Nigerian Youth Parliament for this purpose. He's going to be representing Dr. Adebola Akindele, who is the GMD of Courtview Business Solution PLC. And also, we are going to have today the MD, Managing Director and CEO of Women Africa. And I think the female parliamentarians will be the one to take charge the more when she's around. I think she will be talking more on young female empowerment and the gender equality and opportunity bill that is on ground. So I think those are the ones we have. So I wish us a successful deliberation today, and I think we should start now. So, the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, before I continue, there is an issue I really want to raise here, matter of urgent public importance. And it has brought to the notice of the leadership that some members here are impersonating the leadership of the Nigerian Youth Parliament. And we are not begging you, we are warning you that if you are a member, if you are doing such kind of evil acts, please desist. Else, I think preferably the DSS will take over the atmosphere. If you want it to be in that form, we'll give it to you. So I'm warning you, yes, we are warning you categorically to desist from it. Now,
Majority Leader, please let me quickly say something on that. Could you please have your seat for a while? What it's trying to say, in essence, is the level of impersonation that we are having these days. And if something is not authentic, then you won't have a fake of it. Then, although it attests to the fact that the Nigerian Youth Parliament is doing well and is acceptable all over, but particularly within us, we should desist from the act of impersonating who we are not or the office which we do not hold. As in, we are role models to the younger generations of Nigerians, and I believe that charity should begin at home. If we are requesting for good governance, we want Nigeria to progress, then definitely it should start with all of us here in the Nigerian Youth Parliament. So I know our Majority Leader is garbed in the militant robes this morning. Yes, from Bielsa. Maybe that was why it was too harsh on us, but it is a matter of urgent public importance, as they have said, because we've had so many of these letters coming and security agencies been scrutinizing some of us on these issues. So please just let us know when you're writing some letters and let us stop the act of impersonation. Thank you very much. The Majority Leader.
thank you. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you may recall that we have pending issues which include the consideration of the National Youth Policy document and the possibility of including the NYP in the Nation Youth Development Commission bill, which is already on the process of legislation in both houses of the National Assembly. I wish to call the Minority Leader to second and support that we suspend the order paper and proceed with our pending issues. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, it's no doubt that the issue that has been raised by the Majority Leader is an issue that concerns directly this hallowed house and should be given strict consideration. As such, I will, as a progressive, second the motion. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, if you are in support of the motion raised by the Majority Leader, please say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say no. The ayes have it. All members of the principal officers should please approach the bench quickly. Principal officers, please. Yeah. Huh? Distinguished colleagues, please take your seats. Honorable Captain, Family Born Nathaniel, aka Captain, please approach the bench, please. Yeah, distinguished colleagues, please take your seats, please. We're about to start deliberations and debate on the issues. Distinguished colleagues, Deputy Majority Leader, yes, we'll send you back to the rice farm. Honorable Phillips, can you please suspend this for a while? Let us start the deliberation. You can talk later. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, distinguished colleagues, we're about to start our deliberations so that we can forward resolutions to appropriate quarters as been requested for by the Minister, Honorable Minister of Youth yesterday. But before that, I would like to announce members of an ad hoc committee that are
Point
going
of
to...
order, Mr. Speaker.
What order?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I refer the House to Order 13, Chapter 5, under the privileges of this Parliament. 13A to be precise, Mr. Speaker. With your kind permission, Right Honorable Speaker, may I read?
Please come up with the page again.
Page 15. 15.
Page 15?
Yes, 1-5.
All right, let's go.
With your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, may I read?
Read, yes,
okay.
Please.
13A says that the privilege to be enjoyed by Youth Parliament will be as enshrined in the Constitution. This shall be limited to when the Parliament is in session, no doubt. Mr. Speaker, subparagraph B said that whenever a matter of privilege arises, it shall be taken up immediately as long as it is within the law of the country. And so, Mr. Speaker, I am aware, and I believe the House is also aware, that the Constitution on the first schedule guarantees the right of every citizen of this country to protection of his integrity and human dignity as a citizen of Nigeria. And if we are to go in line and in the spirit of the Constitution, a very revered Constitution in the country, Mr. Speaker, I think that my right to that provision and also my privilege, point pursuant to this Order 13,
Honorable Iziala, is that privilege consistent with this discussion, this current discussion?
Yes.
National Youth Council of Nigeria?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I am referring to the position of the comment made by the majority leader in the House here just now concerning impersonation and forgery. If you marry it to what you said thereafter.
Are you?
Some of our members.
I didn't remember him mentioning any name.
He didn't mention name, and that is even more reason I have to cite this very point of order.
Okay.
Because since he didn't mention name, so it's likely that either one of us or even all of us are culpable. And that is why I feel that my right to protect at least my integrity, and indeed the integrity of this House, is due, and I have to do it on my behalf, and indeed on behalf of every other men of and women of integrity in this House. And so, Mr. Speaker, it would do us a lot better if, pursuant to this order, the House is availed with the details of this issue, and if possible, the House should refer it to the appropriate committee for investigation if the House does not deem it fit to make it public now, perhaps for the integrity of the House. And I pray that you use your good office and your discretion to direct it to the appropriate committee to look into it and the findings made known to this House, so that if there is actually someone impersonating, the adequate punishment or disciplinary measures will be taken. And if there is none, then, Mr. Speaker, it might be tantamount to abuse of office, imputation of false character, and so many other things.
Round up.
And thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I pray that you give it a dispatch attention. Thank you.
Yes, Thank you, Honorable Eziala, for that very good observation. It will be looked into by the principal officers just immediately after the sitting and will refer to the appropriate committee. And I want to urge us all, the leader in particular, that we are in the hallowed chambers, we should not use unparliamentary comments, as in we should be guided on ways by which we express our opinions and things. Please let us be guided well in the parliamentary issues. So thank you very much. It's quite noted. So as I was saying before, the point of order by my friend, Honorable Eziala. Yes, we believe we are taking this youth parliament to another level where resolutions of the youth parliament will be taken seriously by all stakeholders, including the government. And we know the only vehicle through which we can achieve this is the media, so that even the youth can know that, okay, after the session of the youth parliament, there is a resolution. So today, I will be constituting another committee that will act as rapporteurs starting from now and put down all our resolutions and all of that. They will liaise with the clerks of the Nigerian Youth Parliament and come out with a communique that will be read out by all on Friday morning at the House of Reps press corps of the National Assembly. So please take note of this. The names of the members of this ad hoc committee are Honorable Gideon Obande, Honorable Onwe Darlington, Honorable Phillips, Honorable Prosper here, Honorable Kabiru Dala, Honorable Ibrahim Sadiq, and Honorable Amarachi Oji. Once again, Honorable Obande Gideon, Honorable Darlington, Honorable Phyllis Veshek, I don't want to make mistake, that was why I said Philip. Honorable Prosper Ayere, Honorable Kabiru Dala, Honorable Ibrahim Sadiq, and Honorable Amarachi Oji. Honorable Obande will chair that committee, and Honorable Amarachi Oji will be secretary of that committee. And you will report accordingly. The communique must be ready by Thursday evening. Thank you very much. Yes, before we proceed, a matter of urgent public importance have just been brought to my notice. I think I'll call on the leader to make this known to this honorable gathering.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, we've just been informed that there was a bomb blast in Mubi this morning. Many fear dead. So I call on the House with your kind permission for a minute silent for the people that have lost. The motion was brought by Dr. John Lukma from Adamawa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder for that motion, please? Honorable Nathaniel. Will we please all rise for a 1 minute silence for the victims of the bomb blast in Adama? May their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. So, yesterday we were left with the options of salvaging the situation in the National Youth Council of Nigeria. And I believe we did not have much time to deliberate upon it today. Today we are going to be starting with that topic. We are going to deliberate objectively on it. We want objective comments, objective input, and objective resolutions. We should not dwell more on the problems. We all know what the problems are. We should dwell more on profiling solutions to this menace that is robbing off millions of Nigerian youths of very special opportunities. So I would like to open the floor for deliberations. But before that, kindly hold on. The majority leader, please quickly approach the bench, and the clerk, please. Distinguished colleagues, sorry, before we proceed, there is a form. You see this form, this copy of this form is for just biodata and some very vital information. So please, it will be passed around without causing any rancor. And please just don't allow it to distract us. At your leisure time before the end of today, you can just please submit it and get back to us, please. Thank you very much. The majority leader, please.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think we still have to boil down to a matter of urgent. And listen, there is an issue here. We lost the husband of our late colleague, Honorable Yagana, and the Kaduna State Commissioner of Education. So I'll call on the House to observe a minute silence for these persons. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, the minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a sad event, and I think it is the first in the history of the Parliament that the Parliament will lose a member and the spouse of such a member will also go within the same parliamentary time frame. I will not only second the motion, but I will also say that we should call for a parliamentary prayer so that this will not occur again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a very sad one for us. On a very sad note. I would like to ask the distinguished elder if you are in support that we stand for a mini silence in honor of the husband of our late colleague, Honorable Yagana, and the Commissioner of Education of Kaduna State. Would you please say hi? And if you are against, say nil. The ayes have it. Will you please all rise for a minute silence in their honor? May the souls of the deceased rest in perfect peace. Thank you. Now back to the business. I'd like to open the floor for objective deliberations from our members. And I believe for someone that has an in-depth knowledge of the politics of Youth Council, he has been president of Youth Council in his state, he has been zonal leader in Youth Council, he has been national leader in Youth Council. I think he still holds the portfolio to now. So I believe he should lead the deliberation for this honorable house so that he can give us an in-depth and the current situation, the state of the council as we speak now. So we'd like to call on Honorable Hima George. He's a two-star general. He's in National Youth Council of Nigeria and the Nigerian Youth Parliament. So thank you. Please give us a brief.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Ambassador Emmanuel George, JP, the State Chairman, National Youth Council of Nigeria, Taraba State Chapter, the Chairman of Chairman's Forum, Northeast Zone, the Deputy Caretaker President of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, and by the grace of God, the Chief Whip of the Nigerian Youth Parliament. I am from Taraba North. I am highly honored to stand before my respected colleagues to say a word or two in respect to National Youth Council of Nigeria. Like we all know, the National Youth Council of Nigeria, if we look at Chapter 7, subsection 4, under Institution Framework, National Youth Policy 2012 as amended, says the National Youth Council of Nigeria is an umbrella body of all youth organizations and is the voice of the youth in the country. The National Youth Council of Nigeria is founded in 1964. Since then, the council has been going very smoothly. This council is saddled with the responsibility to organize, pilot, defend the interests of the Nigerian youth. However, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is non-political, is non-religion, and is not for profit making. Nevertheless, today, the National Youth Council of Nigeria has found herself in a very straitjacket, which I believe we, the youth, just like the minister has mentioned yesterday, we allowed some certain cabals to tour with the intelligence of Nigerian youth. I could remember some years back in 2013 when we went to Asaba for a convention. And when the convention was postponed, when the Congress was postponed, one Harry Wabuze declared himself as president. He said he has spent a lot. Why would the Congress postpone? we have one president. At the same time, the Congress was scheduled to hold in Makurdi, where every stakeholder in Nigeria, as far as the National Youth Council of Nigeria is concerned, was there. Everybody supported the process. We all thought we have found the lasting solution to the crisis of National Youth Council of Nigeria. But something happened where government in power had serious interest in a particular candidate. After accreditation and everything, government decided that election should not continue. They just declare that particular candidate. And some stakeholders disagree with that. Another election was scheduled to hold in Minna, where some certain stakeholders had to go to Minna. Sorry, the election of the Congress of Makurdi produced Yakubu Shanda. And that of Minna has to produce Abdul Majid.
Sorry to interrupt you. We are enjoying that education. But please, parliamentarians, could you please put your phone aside? It is very unparliamentary for us to have discussions and everybody is on his or her phone. Please, for the purpose of this, so that we can contribute meaningfully. And some of us are sleeping. What happened? Those that are sleeping, are they the ones in Galadimawa or the ones who... Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. You may continue, sir.
Okay. The Congress in Minna produced Abdul Majid, and we had 3 presidents, including the former president, Ajani. 4 presidents were parading themselves as president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, and government is very comfortable with that. I have seen a situation where presidency will always invite the 4 of them, discuss with them, give them some tippings, so it becomes a business. They say, okay, let's come together, because a member of the council went to court by name Uzo, got a judgment squashing all the presidents. So they say, okay, since we have a consent judgment, let's go on another Congress. Now, I was also penciled to contest for the president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, where we started the race. 4 days to election, you know, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is an organization where you find very intelligent youths. Text messages start flying, propaganda everywhere, that I have been penciled by the government to become the president of the National Youth Council. 3 days to the election was postponed because they said the Electoral Committee and the CPC have taken side to bring me as the president. They now say the election has been postponed to other time. We continued the race. They gave a date for another election where we continued the struggle, and 2 days to the election, they said election has been postponed. Ikenga said that will not happen. Ikenga said he has spent so much too, he has to be the president. We, the contestants, agree with the decision of the Board of Trustees to agree with the postponement and wait for another date. But very unfortunate, he has to go extra mile to even leave Abuja to Nasarawa State, where he declared himself and he was sworn in by his colleague as a lawyer. So the struggle continued. where they say, okay, since he has declared himself, let's forget about him and go on with another Congress. And we continue the race. I am still contesting. And we were screened. And before then, we converged in Benin, where almost all, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is not just the state chairman and the NEC. We have what they call VYOs, the Voluntary Youth Organizations. Just like is in the National Youth Policy, you have to affiliate with the National Youth Council. So about 104 VYOs are under the National Youth Council. We all converged at Benin, where we had a non-elective Congress and a caretaker committee emerged. So now a Kenga group is operating and the caretaker committee is now operating. We have two groups of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. So they say, okay, the caretaker committee should begin a process and election should be conducted, where I continue my struggle. And we all contested. Myself, though Abdul Majid came back and joined us, and Shandam agreed with the court judgment and support the process. And Murtala Gamji joined the queue. We have Abubakar Bradley and others. So we were screened and cleared, 7 of us, to contest for the election. Very unfortunate, the Ministry of Youth Development wrote a letter of postponement that they don't want this election to go on, reason based known to them. And the DSS also invite all of us, the contestant, to suspend the Congress for now. We agree. There was a press conference by the ministry and the Board of Trustees in regards to the suspension. We all agree and ask our delegates to go back to our respective states. Very unfortunate, they call us that Murtala Gamji is together with his people at Merit House doing election. We were surprised that he declared himself too, because the DSS called the electoral committee members and collected all the electoral materials, the ballot paper, the result sheet, and everything. As I speak to you, this material is still in the Yellow House. Before we know, Murtala Gamji emerged as the chairman, caretaker committee of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. So we went on, and after the sudden death of Comrade Olombe, the Board of Trustees still invite stakeholders. We all sat down and say, okay, there must be a replacement in that position. As the deputy, I was penciled down to be the caretaker chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. But I declined, and my reasons are simple. I declined because the agreement and the arrangement is that the presidency of the National Youth Council of Nigeria is going to North. So if I accept the offer to be the caretaker chairman now, that means our position to bring the president of the National Youth Council will be at stake. So they accepted and bring on board one Abdurrahman Abola, who is presently steering the affairs of the National Youth Council of Nigeria in the site of the BOT. The funniest part of this whole matter is the Ministry of Youth Development, whom issued a letter of postponement signed by the permanent secretary of the ministry during the inauguration of Murtala Gamji. The permanent secretary of the ministry was there present. He attended the inauguration, gave them his blessings, and asked them to continue work. And even the faction of Olombe do go to the Ministry of Youth Development, have meeting with him, gave them all the necessary support. Go on with your work. So I'm confused here. Who is confusing who? The side of Ikenga, who took the minister and the DSS to court after his unlawful arrest, according to him, which he got a judgment that they should pay him a sum of 20 million, I think, which you can hear the minister say they are on appeal because they refuse and go on appeal. They are still another faction. As I speak to you now, we have not only the Ikenga faction, we have 4 factions now. Because one is the Ikenga faction, and the 2 is from Ikenga's camp, because they said Ikenga was nowhere to be found for more than 6 months, and they had a meeting and impeached him. So they now made his deputy, who is called Kelani, to continue steering the affairs of that faction. And we have the Abdulmajid camp, which I also belong to. Abdurrahman, sorry, that is the camp of the BOT. And we also have the Murtala Gamji's camp. That is the camp of the rumorless. They don't talk but actions. So the fact remains, with all this crisis, as a member and a stakeholder, a critical stakeholder in the Chairman's Forum, I have to concentrate and ensure that the chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria in Nigeria are not divided. And we are one family as chairman. We have our forum where the 36 state chairmen are all there. You can see most of our programs where we do all things in unity. Not long, the federal government invited us where they felt all these crises should be laid to rest. They invited the 3 warring factions. 3 first. 3 because Ikenga is not still back when we were discussing with Kelani before all of a sudden Ikenga appeared. Those that were during the public hearing, you saw the drama here. You saw what happened when Ikenga wants to make a presentation on behalf of the youth of Nigeria. Some groups stood up and said he cannot talk on behalf of the youth of the country. So there was serious issues. We all met and discussed, and they said they need a one united youth council. Because the formation of National Youth Council of Nigeria is one organization. Government cannot say we have scrapped you. It's not possible. Because I am a living witness, I am a testimony. Everybody knows. When my state government decided one day, because they felt the governor that was removed by the Supreme Court is somebody that was close to me. The person that came in just announced our dissolution, that he has dissolved my lead ESCO. But as a comrade and somebody who knows what he's doing, I could not talk. I headed for court. And after 2 years, I got my judgment, even with fine. The government has to pay me money for unlawful dissolution. So, knowing very well that...
how much, sir?
Not important. So, knowing very well that even the National Youth Policy 2012 as amended stated clearly that government at all levels will provide the council, we support the council financially without interference. So the government wants us to have a peaceful resolution of this crisis. But there are some cabals that felt this crisis benefits them seriously. So by the time you are bringing the people concerned for a resolution, you will discover somebody is pumping money for something different. We agree and met. As I speak to you, the committee is ongoing. I happen to be one of the committee too. Yes, because the Kelani group, that is the Kenga group, was asked to produce 6 people from the group. And the Abdulmajid group, that is the BOT group, asked to produce 6 people too. And also the Murtala Gamji group also the Murtala Gamji group produced 6 people, which is 18. So the proposal here is that these 6 will come together and form a national caretaker committee and conduct election with immediate effect. Initially, the Murtala Gamji group declined on that proposal, but they later joined, which we unanimously agree that we are going to make peace. The fact remains, this ongoing peace talk will not see the light of the day without the intervention and proper scrutiny of very vibrant and intelligent young men from all corners of this country called the Nigerian Youth Parliament. I honestly believe that with our wealth of experience, if we can look at this issue very critically and discuss issues and also profile our own humble opinion as regard the lingering crisis, because we are part of the youth constituency, so we know our problem. And I believe the Nigerian Youth Parliament as one united body that has no faction, has no 2 speaker, no 2 chief whip. Since I started bearing the name chief whip, I have not had anybody call himself chief whip in the parliament. So with this, and one important thing we should all know, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is not an individual organization. The Youth Council is a corporate organization. You cannot, as an individual, become a member of the National Youth Council. You must come from either the Red Cross, the Boys Brigade, the Jamaatul Nasir Islam, the Girls Guide, the Royal Ambassador, the youth, all the youth groups, and the Man Oa and Boy Scout and so on. You must belong to this organization. If you are a member of this organization, one of these organizations, and this organization is going to give a recommendation letter to its member when you want to contest. It's part of the electoral guideline. So you cannot just, as a vibrant youth in Nigeria, you don't belong to any organization. That is why they encourage being part of an organization. If you don't want to be a member of any organization in your community, you can be a member of an organization in your church. Because we have Catholic Youth Organization, is affiliated. We have the UWIN, the CAN. We have the Anglican, yes. So you go to the Muslim side, we have to Jamaat to Nasr Islam, we do the Jibwis, all the organization in the Islamic cycle is part of the National Youth Council. So you see, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is one organization that has cut across all walks of life as far as the youth community is concerned. So my humble plea to my respected colleagues is to look at this issue very critical and look at it beyond our sitting now. Let's look at it beyond what the government is saying. Let's look at our future and discuss the National Youth Council of Nigeria as one family. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, distinguished. Even before you raise up your hand, you are the next person I was going to call. We have some generals here that have two feathers. They are in Youth Council and they are in Youth Parliament. So we are going to... So we're going to call on those. Don't worry, I'll call on those first, as in we have some 4 two-star generals here that belong to both. But the most surprising thing, Mr. Chief Whip, is that there was impeachment inside a faction. It is a faction inside a faction. This is serious. Government inside government. GIG.
Even the one they impeach is still functioning.
Honorable Ezeala, please give a brief. You are one of those that have, yes.
The Right Honorable Speaker of this Youth Parliament, August Assembly, my honorable colleagues. If the Honorable Speaker has said I'm a two-star general, so be it. All right. The issue of NYCN is as critical and as sensitive as it is a matter that we need not, as you said in your preamble, overflog the issues of remote causes and the problems. So I'm not going to x-ray everything my senior, the 5-star general here, has just said. So I'll just go straight to some salient issues. Now, first is Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we know and believe, and is not of doubt that we run a country governed by laws. We don't run a tomato republic. And so, it will do this honorable parliament much more good to tow the path of Mr. Speaker, can I go ahead?
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, sir. It will do us more good if we look at some of the legal aspects of this struggle, these issues, and then toe the line of the judiciary. Because no matter what happens in this country, I believe that the senior and the most learned judges of this country, I believe, cannot be wrong at all times and in all occasions. I am a fan of rule of law. I've always believed in justice, and I want us to subject every bit of this debate, deliberation, to those principles. If, as my senior said here, that NYCN is saddled with the statutory responsibility to coordinate and harness youth activities in the country. Well, there is a question there. Who gave it that responsibility? If As he said, government declares someone winner of the NYC election after postponement. Another question. What is the role of government? Are they statutorily empowered to declare a candidate? And he also mentioned there was a third postponement, then the fourth one Ikenga, emerged. And then the final postponement, one Mr. Muritala Gamji, emerged. In all these emergencies, yes, I emphasized emergencies. What is the position of the law? What is the position? What judicial pronouncements have we seen? The only one standing tall is that from Barrister Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere. And if he said that the courts of this country, the revered courts of the land, have given judgments, the last time I checked, 3 judgments in his favor. I cannot stand here and be wiser than my Lord Justice Mukhtar, and I cannot stand here and be wiser than the other 2 judges. So, Mr. Speaker, I align myself with the decisions of the courts of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Speaker. And I will encourage this August Assembly to do so until there is a contrary view, pronouncement, order, or even a judgment nullifying that, so that tomorrow posterity will judge us right, and so that we can leave a good legacy for those who are coming, not just into this parliament, but for politicians who think they are our seniors. By our resolutions today, they will know that we have utmost confidence and respect for the laid down rules and procedures, and indeed for our democratic institutions. That is my submission, Mr. Speaker. But remember those questions I raised, they are yet to be answered. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let us take those generals first, then we move into the to the solutions to the problems. Honorable Nebo is missing in action. Welcome to Nigerian Youth Parliament. Honorable Nebo, yes, you are both a member of Nigerian Youth Parliament and National Youth Council of Nigeria. So, we are on this issue. What's your take?
Thank you, distinguished Speaker, distinguished Honorable Speaker, and Honorable colleagues. Coming to the issue of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, I think during the National Youth Policy debate we had in Abuja here sometime early this month, some of us made suggestions similar to what many people have been saying. There was a case the Honorable Speaker had with one of the factions, which Honorable Imajoj rightly stated that the Speaker had a court case sometime. And in review of the court case, it was discovered that the National Youth Council of Nigeria is just like an NGO. What the CSC calls it as IT, Trustee, Incorporated Trustee. Yeah. So it was also debated that if the National Youth Council of Nigeria is a non-governmental organization, non-political, and is registered as an incorporated trustee, then it should operate as an NGO, not as an umbrella body of youth organizations, that it should operate like other youth organizations we all know about in the country. That how can a group of persons register an NGO, then use it to mortgage the future of millions of Nigerian youths? Well, from my own personal perception, when I was young, days in my
When you were younger.
Yeah, when I was younger, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Days in my primary school, I usually hear about the National Youth Council of Nigeria. You know, they bound to secondary school, read history, talk about the National Youth Council of Nigeria. I lived up to one day and I asked myself, I want to know the National Youth Council of Nigeria and what it has stands for. I joined the Youth Council in my local government. But since that day, there have been issues of embezzlement. I think our last coordinator in my local government has embezzled some money and used it to travel to Singapore. He's no longer in the country. So the same issue has been lingering from state to state, from, you know, also at the national level. I may not have participated in the previous elections and the activities, but for 6 years before I joined the Youth Council, I took time to study the Youth Council in my state. And it's not, they don't have a very good story, both at the state level and at the national level. In my candid opinion, I will not tell the government to jettison the Youth Council entirely, because there are some affiliated organizations that are part of that council that believes in the philosophy of the council. But I suggest that there should be a kind of modification. Mr. Speaker said yesterday that what he discovered in his trips abroad, that Nigeria is lagging behind. So many countries in the 21st century have left, and they are moving towards the future. And if we look at ourselves, we are not helping ourselves with the kind of attitude we portray. So if we believe that youths are the leaders of today, then we should also work on our character as persons, and we should also modify our institutions and system of governance so that we can key into the global agenda and also into the 21st century agenda. I will suggest the modification, the age for contesting these elections. I also discovered that some people in the council did not know where to fall back after the council. Just similar case where somebody raised as an issue here yesterday that after training us, after building our capacity, where do we fall back on? So some people felt maybe after the council they don't have any other thing. And the Honorable Ma also mentioned that some people are benefiting from the crisis of the council. It's a jobless man, I think, that will benefit from crisis. If you are operating a business empire and there is crisis, just like the similar case we had in Mobi this morning, and it's affecting your business there, you have nothing to enjoy there than to also align with the government to ensure that peace is brought to such circumstance. So I'm suggesting the ministry has their own case, and the young people have their own case also. The ministry is a government body. Politics is a game of interest. Politicians are interested in these structures so that they can win the next election. But also as young people, we should not avail ourselves to the evil of the society, because what goes around will also come around. If it may not affect us on the shortest run, because of the immediate benefit. But what about the future? What about our brothers and sisters who are coming after us? What about our children? Average lifespan of a Nigerian by the World Health Organization for male is 54 years. If you live beyond or above 54, then you give it up to that. Then for women, 56. Without statistics, you see that even as Nigerians, we don't have, many years to spend on earth here, and the little one we have, we end up living in crisis. So I'm suggesting that if there is anything the House can, have as resolutions, submit to the ministry, let them look at it, call these factions together. They are human beings. Talk to their leadership. Tell them if they have to step aside, let them step aside. Let them suggest or maybe find a way of bringing an entire new leadership, change the modus operandi. Then also look, if the ministry must supervise, let the ministry supervise and make their supervision transparent enough so that even the people in the council can trust the ministry, and also the ministry can also give accounts of the activities of the youth council. So I don't want to take some personal, make some personal opinion, because I believe that it's a national issue. So my perspective may also differ from many of us here, but I believe as we deliberate, we'll have a universal conclusion and also solve this problem the way it should be. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. That was very deep, and be rest assured we are going to consider. But for your president that absconded, he went to see his counterpart, his youth council president of Singapore, on bilateral relationship. So maybe that was why he went. He will soon be back, don't worry. And, okay, yes, before I fall back to the Republicans, let me take Honorable Sanusi. Because I know there is a lingering crisis too, or there was a crisis in Sokoto. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Sanusi Yakubu, representing Sokoto East Senatorial District. Mr. Speaker, I will start by commending the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Minister of Youth, Solomon Dalong, for placing this task before us, before this honorable House. It is very, very commendable because there has been so many issues regarding this National Youth Council, NYCN. I was once a staff of the Ministry for Youth and Sport Development in Sokoto. I left there as an acting Deputy Director Administration. And while I was there, Mr. Speaker, I was once sent as a delegate in the election that brought one of these factions to the seat of this presidency of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. It was so very unfortunate what I saw. Mr. Speaker, I came and there was no election. Mr. Speaker, we were taken to a church and the candidate was first of all sworn in before a single vote was cast. It was after that we were taken, of course, again, as delegates. We were not in any way part of the process. We were just there to watch, as it was planned. We were taken to another place where votes were casted, but not by any delegate, by some people, just so that they can snap pictures. I'm not going to call the name of that, because it's, I think for some security reasons, I will not be able to do that. But I am what I'm saying is very true. I was there, and it happens here in Abuja. The election took place somewhere in Nasarawa, and the vote was casted somewhere in Nasarawa at a hotel. And even when the votes were counted, they jumped from 10 to 100, from 100 to 1,000. And I understood it was just so that they can have a record, that can present to the court that an election actually took place. That was just very, very unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to bring to your notice that just very recently, some members of my constituency in Sokoto State met me with an issue regarding this National Youth Council of Nigeria, that they have so many things against the current chairman of the NYCN in Sokoto State, and that they want me to intervene. And I told them that it is beyond what I can do, because I understand the problems and I know how almost everything played out and how the man they were talking about was brought in. So I advise that they should forward whatever complaint they have to the national body of this NYCN, which they did, and subsequently the NYCN, that chapter was dissolved in Sokoto State, and a caretaker was formed by the national body to take care of the activities of the NYCN and make sure that election was conducted in 3 months. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, that issue almost brought chaos in Sokoto State. That dissolution didn't go well with many people, many stakeholders, and the youth of Sokoto State, majority of them were ready to make sure that that dissolution holds and that the caretaker takes over the affairs of the council in Sokoto State. If not for the intervention of the seasoned youth-friendly governor, His Excellency Right Honorable Amin Wazir Tambuwal, distinguished colleagues, the problems we would have had in Sokoto State will have been enormous. The crisis will have engulfed many parts of the state. Many youths will have found themselves in crisis. They could not imagine how it will end. And this, I want you to understand, is because the petition that was written by the Sokoto State youth to the national body, they believe they sent it to the National Youth Council. But unfortunately for them, it was to one of the factions, as I later heard. And so the argument in Sokoto was, who was it that dissolved the Sokoto ESCO? And the ESCO that was dissolved was now claiming that that faction that dissolved it is not recognized faction by the federal government of Nigeria. And we heard from the minister and from many members of the council here with us that there are so many factions of this NYCN. Now, if you have these factions, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we need to understand that this can go a long way to create many, many problems for the youth across this country, because there could be problems at state chapters that needed to be addressed by the national body. And we see how it ended, and based on the fact that there was no any existing acceptable structure of this NYCN at the national level. So this is very, very important that we accord this issue the attention it deserves, so that we can provide lasting solutions to this problem. And I want to appeal to this House, as my colleague Honorable Nevo Collins said, that he is not going to make any personal comments, because he is a party to the National Youth Council. So I think we need to do as much as possible, present these issues, look at them objectively, and make sure that we take whatever decisions that are necessary to make sure that we put this National Youth Council in the right path. And I also want to suggest that this Honorable House call all the parties involved, not only discuss these issues here, but we need to also invite these factions to the table, so that we can also hear directly from them what are the issues, and see how we can appeal to them to come to the negotiating table, so that we can make sure that this council is the tussle in the council is resolved once and for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable. Then we move to Honorable Darlington Homwe.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Onwe Darlington Ward Peters.
So, Honorable Homwe Darlington, you know to everything there is a how. So please be brief in your submission.
All right, sir. I represent the youth constituency of Ebonyi Central. And the issue regarding the NYCN is a protracted issue, almost across the country. For instance, in Ebonyi State, the issue lingered and lingered to a point where the present governor, through the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, had to intervene and then constituted a committee, or rather, the president who was unlawfully removed from office was installed to complete his tenure, and then some other young members of the youth constituency were also appointed to work with him. And it's very important for record purposes that I inform this Honorable House that I was appointed as the secretary of the council. And we were given 365 days, that's 1 year, to conduct election. And then our tenure was meant to end 2016 December. And prior to December, I had to communicate the president of the council that we have to do the needful by, creating the platform that we elect new people. But then he gave it a deaf ears. And instead of going ahead to constitute either a electoral committee, what he did was to suspend me, nominate another secretary, and the other ones is still story. But the issue is that the people constituting this nuisance are not by eligibility criteria of the national youth policy. They are not youth, because the youth, the national youth policy says 18 to 35 years, and I want to suggest for this Honorable House that one part of the long-term solution, to this issue of council is that the eligibility to contest, even to vote, is that the person must fall within the age bracket of 18 to 35 years. Very vital. And then another issue that is very key is that we have the Court of Competent Jurisdiction that gave judgment. Even if the president, if there is a judgment that did not suit the intent of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is the Commander-in-Chief, he has nothing other than to obey the court orders according to the law. According to the law. And so, being that as it may, although we know he has some level of veto powers, but in terms of...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Order what? Chief. Why you search for the order? Still go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although we know the president has some level of veto powers, but in the eyes of law, given consonance to the rule of law, everybody is equal before the law. And being that as it may...
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Have you found the order now, sir? Okay.
Mr. Speaker, page 15, order 13D. They say, in case where adequate provision is not made in this standing order, the Parliament shall refer to the practice in the National Assembly. Sir, I've not seen what I want to really talk about, but with this, it will give me the power to say something. I just want to observe.
Distinguished Honorable, you are ruled out of order. Thank you.
Sir?
You may continue, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting my voice in this.
Darlington, you have 1 minute.
We must get things right, Mr. Speaker. We must begin to get things right by ensuring that we inject the right change. And that change begins with the decision of this hallowed chamber. And I said that to say that we must maintain the status quo by obeying the court orders. And if a factional leader or president or self-acclaimed president went as far as obtaining a court order or judgment, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, this hallowed chamber, I pray this hallowed chamber to work in line with that. And as a matter of fact, since the minister from his speech yesterday said
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
They had appealed.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Prosper.
Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, please let's turn to page number 14, order number 2. With your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to read. A member may only speak from the seat allocated to him, provided that the Speaker of the Parliament may change the allocation from time to time. As it is, Mr. Speaker, we'll observe that my erudite scholar here is not speaking from his seat allocated to him by this House. Okay. And I wish he could use my mic rather than going to the majority.
Mr. Speaker, his time is
Thank
even
you, Mr.
off.
Speaker.
Okay, I mean, now your order is observed and is well noted. I now allot the microphone of Honorable Prosper to you for 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so, like I was saying, we will have to write the office of the Chief Justice of the Federation.
He will be here on Thursday.
Okay, requesting that the appeal made by the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports should be fast-tracked. In fact, the judgment should be fast-tracked in such a way that we will be working within the ambits of the law.
Time up.
And as a matter of
Your
fact...
time is up, sir.
As a matter of fact...
Your time is up.
All right, thank you, Mr.
As
Speaker.
a matter of fact, your time is up. No. Honorable Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Philip Kirme-Velshik, representing the young people of Plateau Central District. And by the grace of God, I'm also the chairman of North Central Caucus. Mr. Speaker, the leadership crisis in the National Youth Council of Nigeria has degenerated to the extent that even the young, a madman on the street of Ajegunle, I'm sorry to use the word, can come up and be declared as the President of the National Council of Nigeria, it is very unfortunate that the gladiators, just to satisfy their own selfish interests, have allowed the Youth Council to degenerate to this extent. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the National Youth Policy is very clear on who a youth is.
Sorry to interrupt you, Honorable Philip. Just give the majority leader some few minutes.
It's okay, Mr. Speaker. Thank
please.
you.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you can all see that we have some visitors, important visitors in our midst. I therefore move that we suspend relevant sections of our rules and welcome and accommodate our esteemed visitors. I call on the minority leader to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please, who are the visitors?
One of them here is the head Strategy and Research Unit, Codeville Business Solution PLC, Dr. Debola Akande, represented by Abdul Adewale Aziz. The second person here is Alaji Shaibu Dare, advocate of the youth empowerment, and is a major supporter of youth activities in Niger State. He will be represented by Honorable Anarabel Aliu Kuturaki in our midst here. And the third person here is Reverend Emma Bell Ijoma, MD and CEO, Woman Africa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues in the House, I will want to believe that this is possibly a coincidence, that all through the presentation by people from the majority party, there was no need to suspend and introduce people that are in the House until people from the minority party started speaking. Mr. Speaker, the beauty of democracy is in the defense and the protection of those that you stand for. As the leader of the minority party and as a progressive, I may go ahead to second this motion. But my secondment should be accepted on the premise that on this issue that is being discussed, adequate time and numerical representation will be given to members of the Republican Party to make their input, and please let us not be rushed. I second the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the minority leader. Be rest assured, as we're just moving from the majority to the minority, it is not in any way, we are not in any way excluding the voices of the Republican Party, which is the minority. So, distinguished honorable members, if you're in support of the motion, say aye. Aye. And if you're against, say no.
Nay!
Distinguished honorable members, if you are in support, say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. So before we call them, as in, let us please finish up with what we're doing. We'll call them soon. So, Honorable Phillips, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the floor once again. Mr. Speaker, I was saying that the National Youth Policy is very clear on who a youth is. And it clearly defines a youth as those falling within the age of 18 to 35. And even the National Youth Council Constitution agrees with that the age limit of the youth shall be between the ages of 18 to 35. Mr. Speaker.
Sorry to interrupt you once more. Honorable Lado, are you around? Honorable Lado. Please, do you have any other honorable from Niger State here present? Niger State. Honorable Emma, please approach the bench as Honorable Philip continues with his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, once again. Mr. Speaker, the crisis is not at the national level of the Youth Council. It has gone across all the states. In Plateau State, for example, Mr. Speaker, we have a situation And it's very unfortunate that the Plateau State Youth Council, which operates a different constitution from that of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, and also operates a different structure, because the constitution of the Plateau State Youth Council says a youth is between the age of 18 to 45. And the current chairman of the Plateau State Youth Council is almost 40 years, Mr. Speaker. The same constitution also allows a legislative organ, and all these are contrary to the constitution of the National Council of Nigeria. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Speaker, when the former governor of Plateau State, distinguished Senator John Ajang, wanted to conduct elections of the National Youth Council of Nigeria in Plateau State, the Plateau State Youth Council said no, they are not National Youth Council of Nigeria, they are Plateau State Youth Council. Accepted because they have their own constitution, which is different from that of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. And the government said there was a directive from the then president of National Council of Nigeria, Ben Edute, that Plateau State Youth Council should revert to the National Youth Council of Nigeria and adopt the same constitution with the same structure so that it can operate as a state chapter of the National Council of Nigeria. But Plateau State Council refused to do that. And when an election time came and they wanted to conduct elections, the government said there was a directive, we have to revert and use the National Council of Nigeria to conduct elections of NYC and Plateau State so that you will exist as NYC and Plateau State chapter. They went to court to challenge the government. Mr. Speaker, permit me to read just a few prayers that were granted by the Plateau State High Court to the Plateau State Youth Council.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. An order of declaration that the act of the respondent, and the respondent in this matter is the Plateau State government, an order of declaration that the act of the respondent to conduct election of Plateau Youth Council using the NYC constitution is null and void and against the relevant constitutional provisions of the Plateau Youth Council constitution. An order of declaration that the Plateau Youth Council Constitution 1999 is the valid constitution for the conduct of election into the leadership of the Plateau Youth Council. An order an order declaring as null and void all structures and processes set up by the respondent for the conduct of the election of the Plateau Youth Council using the NYCN Constitution. An order declaring null and void the decision by the Plateau State government to change the name of Plateau Youth Council to NYCN Plateau State Council chapter. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, all these prayers were granted, and this is the court judgment. I have a copy here, certified through copy. All these prayers were granted to Plateau State Youth Council, and they went ahead to conduct election early this year as Plateau State Youth Council. And they were sworn in, the ESCO that emerged was sworn in with the constitution of Plateau State Youth Council. Mr. Speaker, this thing was going on to the embarrassment of erudite young leaders like us. And we said no. To the best of our knowledge, the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, the National Youth Council of Nigeria has as its mission to actualize the full rights of all Nigerian youths to enjoy social and economic development and to respect the rights of others, whilst actively participating in decision-making processes and complementing government efforts in nation building. NYCN anywhere is for all Nigerian youths, irrespective of your state of origin. Like in Plateau State, the NYCN state chapter embraces all youths of the state. All youth organizations, irrespective of where you come from, so long as you are resident on the plateau. But the Plateau State Youth Council constitution restricts its membership to only youth of Plateau State. It means if you are not from Plateau State, you cannot contest election. Yes, it is indigenous. It means if you are not from Plateau State, if you are not indigenous of Plateau State, you cannot contest election in Plateau State Youth Council. I am from Plateau State. And because, yes, they operate a constitution that allows that. And we said, okay, we will have a chapter of the NYCN that will embrace all youths. What about youths that were born and bred on the plateau that contributed to the growth and development of the state? they should also be allowed to participate in decision making as far as the youth is concerned, the youth council is concerned. And we came up with a steering committee of the NYCN, ably led by my humble self, Mr. Speaker. There were issues that emerged to the extent that the PYC took us to SSS. They said we're impersonating them. How are we impersonating them? They said they are NYCN. We said no, we are not NYCN. You are Plateau State Youth Council. Mr. Speaker, it is a very sad situation that the NYCN at the national level feels comfortable to deal with the Plateau State Youth Council. And these are the kind of illegalities that we're talking about here. These are the illegalities that we're talking about here, Mr. Speaker. And as this Hallowed Chamber, distinguished honorable colleagues, must pass resolutions that will draw actions, that will call on actions to be taken so that the best solutions, the best ways can be followed to manage this crisis. Because it is very, very clear that a state youth council, Plateau State, that is indigenous Plateau youth, cannot also exist and parade itself as a state chapter of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. But unfortunately, the NYCN at the national level, there is crisis, of course, we have had of factions and all that. But my humble honorable colleague is here. They are romancing with the state chapter, sorry, with the Plateau State Youth Council. And that is the kind of illegality that we do not want to continue. And I believe this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, will decide on it. Thank you very much, sir.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
You are exhausting out of the 5 points of orders, you are going to exhaust the third one. After this, recognizing this, I think we should suspend the point of orders because this is a very critical issue which must be dealt with without interference. As in, so, Honorable, yes.
All right, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Well, I think the point of order I'm raising is very germane and has a considerable nexus with what my colleague has just presented. Let me refer the House to order page 17, order 14, paragraph 3. Sorry, order 16. I think it's 16 proper. Any member complaining to the Parliament of a statement in a newspaper, book, or other publication as breach of privilege shall produce a copy of the newspaper, book, or other publication containing the statement in question and shall be prepared to give the name of the printer or publisher. Mr. Speaker, in this case, the name of the publisher is Honorable Vershik. And the book he is having is the so-tendered judgment of the Plateau State Court. And I want to bring to the notice of this House that that document speaks about a state youth parliament and not a state chapter of National Youth Council of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, Honorable House, we are talking about National Youth Council issue. States are independent of the National Youth Council issue. Every member of the state. Yes,
you have made the point. For the point of order, yes, so you are digressing into briefing us. Don't worry. Thank you, Honorable Ezeala. It's true, but from what I heard the certified true copy of a court judgment, although it was not circulated to us, but I feel in due course it will be. Thank you, distinguished colleague. It is well noted. Honorable Philip, you have the duty of making copies of that and circulating it to members of this hallowed chamber. Thank you very much. Well noted, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, while we progress, one of the last generals, Honorable Nathaniel, you are a member of Youth Council and Youth Parliament. So, what is your view? We are calling on generals. Let us exhaust them that are involved, then we move to the general house, please. And Minority Leader, hope you are taking notes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Famuyibo Nathaniel Oluwasegun. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. I'm from the base of opposition in Nigeria, Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, to avoid or to oblige to the warnings that I read while watching Premier Leagues and Champions League, which says play safe. And with what and the views we've been hearing all along, you agree with me that what I was saying during our discussion before the sitting on the issue of the the National Youth Council of Nigeria is coming to reality, is coming to play now. We have so many soldiers at the Youth Council, as you've known, and I would not want to play to gallery as a field marshal of the Youth Council also. So, Mr. Speaker, I humbly plead that you allow me to take my seat, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Safe journey as you play safe. So, distinguished colleagues, let us please start we had to call those that are probably involved first, as in that are members of the Youth Council and at the same time members of Nigerian Youth Parliament, to have an overview, everybody to have an overview of what we want to dwell into. And looking at this critically, as in majorly, the problems have been stated. We will be recognizing people soon to speak. We just want you to go straight to the solutions, please. And I think we'll be allotting 1.5 minutes to, as we are the Chief Whip, please take note. And there are two issues. I see two issues from the legal angle. We'll be referring to our legal department and those that are versed in the legal work there in the Parliament. One is the fact that there is a court ruling from a court of competent jurisdiction, which we cannot just put aside as patriotic citizens of Nigeria. We need to dwell on that. And number two, the fact that the Nigerian National Youth Council of Nigeria have been registered as the technical time, they call it IT, I don't know, yes, incorporated trustee, they have been registered, and the board of trustee does not have either the Minister of Youth, the permanent secretary of Federal Ministry of Youth, or other relevant youth leaders as part of the member of trustees. Then I think it makes it like any other non-governmental organization and does not give them the right to be the so-called umbrella body. So these are the things I think from the technical. Then at the same time, we have mentioned the cabals and the rumorless. There must be a political solution to these two, a political angle towards solving this issue. So please, I'm laying this background so that our solutions will be guided. I mean, the preferment of our solutions will be guided. Thank you very much. I'll come back to the principal officers. Let's take our people for the Honorable Kabiru Zuberi Shame.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me to speak before my honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Kabiru Zuberi Shame, member representing Kaduna South of the Nigerian Youth Parliament. Mr. Speaker, let me recommend the effort of Honorable Minister for giving us this tax, enormous tax, sedimentary and igneous and metamorphic in nature. First of all, Mr. Speaker, let me start by getting the parliament security, because this issue is volcanic in nature too. When we look at Youth Council, as my honorable colleague and my leader in the struggle of NANS, Captain said, we need security in handling this Youth Council issue. And I would like to...
Honorable Sheme, physical or spiritual?
all of them, sir. And then I would like to give some my recommendation, Mr. Speaker. You need to form a committee that will look into this issue. And also, we need legal advisors for legal backing. And also, we need to have, because NYCN is National Career Youth Council of Nigeria. That's how they change it. You know, we have student, career student, and then we have youth, career youth. So in this regard, sir, in handling someone who is elder and turned to youth turned to okay, let me say father, is very, very crucial. Yeah, we're all father. So, and then we need to have their constitution. We need to go into their constitution in order to handle the situation well. Then, some of what I jot down have already been deliberated by some of my colleagues. And also these camps, about 3 or 4 camps to be mentioned by Chief Whip, we must sack all of them. Thank you, I submit.
Honorable Obande.
Mr. Speaker, Obande Gideon is my name. I represent the good, bad, and ugly youths of Benue South Senatorial Zone. I say that because the subject, as discussed, is a very sensitive subject. And the solution to this subject can be more of a political solution than of a legal solution. I'm not a legal practitioner, but having romanced enough and having too many of them in the principal officers hierarchy of the minority leadership of the House, you agree with me that it is natural that I should be rubbed off with some of them. And I heard that with the so many forms of interpretations given to the law, there is a particular one they call the mischief approach of interpreting the law. And I want us to keep in mind that the court will not entertain or give judgment outside what has been presented before the court. As such, I want us to see this from the dimension that the panoply of court judgments we have is an output of what has been presented before the court. And the court gave the judgment exclusively based on those documents. As such, I will be advising this House. My comrade and elder in the struggle kept mentioning one thing: I have spent too much money. The bulk of the factions that emerged were not because they sought to protect the interest of the Nigerian youth. It was not because they were given the mandate of the youth, but because they have spent too much money and need to recover it, they declared themselves. And if, with the echoing voices from the background I hear, connotes that that forms the bulk of the problem, it means that the best solution would be a political solution. And what is this solution? The factions brought to table. And for you to advise them to step aside, you should, as a government that have the youth at heart, be ready to make some sacrifices, financially and otherwise, to cushion those that have been involved in these factions. We may not want it, but I want us to remember this, that if these people say it is because I have spent money, I am not saying let us tell government to pay them off, but I am saying that call them together, let them dialogue with government. As you beg them with words of mouth, you beg them with other things that can appease to them also. Not necessarily cash, but things of interest that will make them be willing to let go. And since they are the foundation of the problem of this council, let them be part of the nucleus that will form the solution to this problem. I remember in the era of Wale Ajani, Dixon Akko and Co., before there was that unity, everybody that ran as a faction were brought together to form the transition committee.
And they agreed unanimously that Comrade Wale Ajani be the council national president to conduct election. And that was why at that time we had one council president. So if we have 4 factions, the 4 factions be brought together. The 4 factions be advised accordingly. And if they agree that their leadership...
Honorable Awande,
Sir.
that time,
Yes,
was there any legal tussle?
Yes, sir.
During the Wale Ajani time.
During the Ajani's time, there were
was there
also...
a judgment?
There were legal issues on ground, there were judgments too on ground.
All right, okay.
But
You
they
can go
all
on.
decided to set aside these judgments and they came together and council became one. Dixon Akko, who was a factional president, was part of that transition committee. Ajani was there and it was harmonized. I think that if this current minister and the ministry currently, we told the same part, the problem of this council will be solved. I want us to bear in mind that outside these factions, the council has what we call council of chairmen. And this council of chairmen have never had a faction because the state councils are those that form this council of chairmen. And apart from states that have standing issues that are negligible, that is, if you set them aside, we still have up to 2/3 of the council of chairmen without issues. This council of chairmen, in a case where these 4 factions refuse to do the needful, the council of chairmen can be an alternative to bring succor to this issue. May I remind us, as you said ab initio, or as it was said ab initio, that if we go by the legal document or documents we have, there can always be an alternative to this youth movement called the National Youth Council of Nigeria. And I want us to know that Usman Dan Fodio said, you cannot govern a man without his permission to be governed. If they insist to remain factions and refuse to resolve for the interest of over 40 million Nigerian youths, they are invariably saying that they were not there to lead the Nigerian youths. And if the Nigerian youths are comfortable with a leadership of their choice, that leadership of their choice under any umbrella can be the ultimate body that will represent them. But as we take the issue step by step, I pray that this house encourage the ministry to toll the path of a political solution so that the long-standing legacy of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, that has been a name that have echoed through continents, will be maintained and a legal touch be given to it so that the status, the legal status of the National Youth Council of Nigeria can be transformed into the required status to represent the totality of the interests of Nigerian youths. And because I know that others will have something to say, I want to submit by saying, Mahatma Gandhi says, whatever is right, whatever is wrong, regardless of who is doing it. And so regardless of who the actors and the players of this issue is, whatever is right in this contest is right, and whatever is wrong, I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Awande. Okay, let us patronize more of the minority party. I think we are calling more of the minority party now. Okay. Okay, thank you. Honorable Barrister Mark Halu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me. I remain my humble self, Mark Ofu Alu, representing the young people of Nasarawa North. I rise to quickly raise...
Sorry to interject. Honorable Augustine Okuru, you are not properly dressed. You are not properly dressed. Could you please go out, look for a cap? And Honorable Hati Moses, kindly find a cap and come back to this honorable house. You are not properly dressed. You cannot be in this gathering, please, in this hallowed chamber. Honorable Ati, thank you. Please look for a car. Thank you, thank you. We are waiting. You're delaying us. No, you cannot manufacture one there. Please look for a cab. You're not properly dressed. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, go on, Barrister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Like I was saying, my few observations will go thus. I think one, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is an NGO registered under Part C of KAMA. And as I speak, I want to believe that the NGO so registered, as it is called, has its article or memorandum of association that provides what they are expected to do. Now, I think one of the speakers earlier on mentioned that there is a court order or judgment, so to say, concerning this matter. And as young people representing vibrant youth of this country from our different constituency, I want to say, and I want to speak vehemently, perhaps maybe the voice of quite a number of the Republicans, as our able leader has always advocated. In a democracy, they said the majority will always have their way, but the minority will have a say. And I want to add that perhaps sometimes the minority says what is the nitty-gritty of what is involved at stake in terms of national development. Now, if I want to attack this issue from a legal point of view, taking into consideration what the Minister of Youth and Sport has actually asked us to do concerning this matter by taking a resolution wherein the resolution will be forwarded to the National Assembly and it will be looked into. I want to advise, perhaps as a young person and maybe as a lawyer, that we should be very careful, even though we are hiding under the legislative immunity by virtue of our presence in the National Assembly now, over certain things that we said, more so that the matter is in the court. I have not followed the matter because I had not interest ab initio in the issue. But I want to believe from what I have heard so far from quite a number of colleagues who have spoken, that there is a court judgment. Perhaps if there is not, if at all there is no court judgment, there is an order. Whether or not the Youth Council of Nigeria is factionalized or there is a legal or recognized leadership of that organization. I want to advise, before we take a solution and forward it to the appropriate authority, that we should look at that order and see if we can identify ourselves with what the court is saying in the interim before we now proffer any final solution in this house. That is one. Secondly, I want to advise this house that as young people, we have traveled far away and we have come to this place. I want to urge, Mr. Speaker, my right honorable colleagues, that whatever that we have said here, it should be taken seriously. Because this is the highest, perhaps the apex legislative arm of the youth of this country. And as we go about doing such, I believe that the government will know that we have serious-minded people in this third session of the Nigerian Youth Parliament. In addendum again, I want to state and categorically that the National Youth Council of Nigeria is a body that is registered, and I want to believe is still under the Nigerian Youth Parliament. By virtue of the power given to us to take a resolution in this particular parliament, I don't want to repeat anything that I have said. I want us to be objective, and I want us to inquire very well the position of things so that we will not take the wrong decision that borders on this matter. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to state that if you take a look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chapter 2 of the Constitution provides for certain things that are embedded in a man by virtue of the fact that you are a human being and you have such right as a human being. You have a universal human right to do certain. But my worries with certain, even this Nigerian Youth Parliament, is that we cannot substantiate any of those rights as contained in Chapter 2, taking the Chapter 4 of India perspective or India Constitution into consideration.
When we get to India, please conclude, please.
Mr. Speaker, I arise even though I am not a party to the National Youth Council as it is, but I want to just profile one or two advice that I have said before. We should be objective. We should inquire the position of the court of competent jurisdiction of this country so that we will not be prejudicing the order or judgment of courts. At the end of the day, we have experts. Like I was going through one of these bills that was presented.
Honorable, you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
They have done a very good work, and I want to believe we will take a position where such position will not be ridiculed at the end of the day. I saw some. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Prince Adetayo.
The Right Honorable Speaker, sir. Very distinguished colleagues.
Sorry to interrupt you. The clerk of this Allo chamber is here to assign Honorable Rhoda, who was sworn in today with a party, so that we don't exclude her from this discussion, so that she can know where her seat is allotted or which position she will be talking from. Honorable Ezeala is pointing to the seat beside him. So please, Honorable Rhoda, will you please approach the clerk, please, so that you can choose a party.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, this is one assignment where both politics and administration will be played. So to assign her with the political party, I will like the assistance of the leader and the minority leader to witness. Come forward.
No rigging.
Yeah, you see here.
Mr. Speaker, please, observation, Mr. Speaker.
You are not observed. If it is a point of order, we will. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, then.
What order?
Mr. Speaker, this is important, please. Please.
What order?
Observation, please.
I did not see, going through our rule book, I have not seen a procedure for observation. So, you can approach the bench. And spiritually hope I am safe with this outfit.
So I want to do my best so that there won't be any rigging.
Honorable Blessing, Honorable Blessing, you have to join her too. You have not picked a party too. Could you please join her? Honorable Grace, please join her. Honorable Boniface, join them fast. The Akwa Iboms. Adamawa, yes, please quickly join them.
Wow. It seems to me that in an effort to assign Honorable Rhoda with a party, we have a team of parliamentarians that had been operating illegally. Okay. That's all of you. Okay, I have two folded papers with me. One carried the inscription of the Republicans and the other is for the Democrats. So I'll start with Honorable Rhoda, but I want the two leaders to witness this. I don't know which one is which. So you choose and after choosing, just choose and show the public. Open it to the public.
The clerk, sir. Please, the clerk, please, you have to hold on. Honorable Juliana, please join them. And if you know you are impersonating parties now, please join them.
Well, we're through with the first, and Honorable Rhoda, what I see on this is Republican. So, no one is coming for her. Come and welcome her.
Welcome her to your party. Majority leader is not happy. I don't know why. Majority leader, please smile.
Okay. Next on my list is Honorable Dr. Jerry Luca. John Luca. So do something the same. It seems the Republicans are taking the day.
Majority party, are you sure the leader is representing you well?
He prayed very well.
Okay. Okay. The next is Honorable Emmanuel Boniface. I hope you see a Republican.
Are you sure majority leader is representing you?
Honorable members,
They are decamping to our party.
so you see, it's not all that. What's your name? Honorable. From which city? Okay. Namwell. Honorable Namwell here is from Adamawa State, and Democrat. No one to welcome him. Which party? And next is Honorable Grace Basi from Akwa Ibom State. Republican. Honorable from next is Honorable Zainab from Adamawa State. Republican. Next is Honorable Juliana from Oyo State. Republican.
The clerk, sir, are you sure there was no rigging?
So, honorable members assigned to your parties, the honorable members assigned to your parties, I wish you fruitful contributions and the democratic process. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to some of our colleagues that just got their parties. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. And I say congratulations once again to our colleagues that just found their party. You, according to the principles of the parliament, you have to be loyal to your party, to the ideas of your party, to your party leaders. You have to ensure the success of the deliberations and positions of your parties. So, I wish you fruitful stay in your party, and I think by the numerical strength, the Democrats have the numerical advantage over the. No, we do the count soon, but with what I see, I think, and we have to set up a tribunal to investigate the just concluded balloting that was just did, so that. I think the Democrat Party was rigged out of their election. Or was it free and fair? Okay, should be observable. Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you very much. The leader, please.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that we suspend our deliberation on the National Youth Policy document, and we invite our visitors for a brief presentation. I call on the minority leader to second the motion.
The minority leader, please second.
Mr. Speaker, with the joy I have, I want to second this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you are in support of the motion, say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say nay. The ayes have it. So I now call on the CEO, the representative of the CEO of 1 minute, of Courtville Business Solution PLC. He's going to be telling us more about their entrepreneurship investments in youth and how it is going to benefit the Nigerian Youth Parliament, being the leaders of all the youth in each of the senatorial districts and the Apex Legislative Youth Body. So, sir, you are invited to the podium.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, distinguished parliamentarians, guests in the House, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Abdul Adewale Aziz. I'm standing in for the GMD CEO of Courtville Business Solution PLC, all the way from Lagos, the patent owner of Autoreg. I've been told to come and speak on entrepreneurship. Of course, I'm going to be delivering his message.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Principal officers, please approach the bench quickly. You can go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I'll be speaking, delivering his message in my own voice. So permit me, whichever way I present this. This is from Dr. Akindele Ismail Adebola. And I would appreciate, first of all, I have to commend this house. I've been here since the inception of this procession, and I've enjoyed every second of it. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and we have to affirm and ascertain again that this country is going to be greater than the way we always think out there. Kudos to you guys. Continue the good job, and we pray that very soon we'll get there. We're no longer leaders of tomorrow, but we are leaders of today. I can say that anyway. Yeah, like I said, I'll be looking forward to a kind of interactive section. This is not supposed to be something we've not heard before. It's not supposed to be a new idea. It is just supposed to be something to resuscitate our minds on what we've heard before, to remind us of those steps that we didn't take in a long while. Things that we promised ourselves, even while we were still at higher institution, and things that we have on table that we never tend to open. Entrepreneurship is something that is common in the world now. The world is talking about entrepreneurship. The world is talking about what it is that you can actually do for your community, what it is that you can do for the nation, what it is that you can actually stand to give back to the society. I haven't, gotten one or two information from schools,
from various training sessions. And I would like to ask these few questions. In one word or 2 words, it doesn't have to be a sentence. What do we really understand by the word entrepreneurship? In one word. It doesn't have to be a full sentence. Anybody, please. Okay? I would say it's something we all know. We don't have to latch so much on this. But entrepreneurship, as we always say, is all about creating values. It's all about identifying needs. If you did not identify needs, there is no how you can create value. And for you to create value, you must understand your environment. You must understand your community. You must know what it is that you need to, provide in that particular community. The world is just full of boundless opportunities, boundless, advantage that are just lying there for people to come and take over. But the point is, when you look outside the window at your various locations, when you are going on the streets, when you see people moving, what do you see? Do you just see people moving around? Do you see people with challenges? Do you see people with issues? Do you see problems? Do you see the advantage of taking opportunities? As youths, we know that as far as we are concerned, we shouldn't be thinking about what the government is going to do alone, but rather we should also think about what is it that we can actually do to the community, to the nation as a whole. And I remember this slogan where I used to say that when you build the youths, you build the nation. I still remember that slogan very well. So as much as we look at that under entrepreneurship, it doesn't have a definite definition or explanation. It's just about creating values. It's just about identifying opportunities, like I said. And I must say to you that in the world today, the small businesses, the small and medium-scale enterprises contribute about 99% to the GDP globally. You can check this. 95, sorry. Why Japan contributes 99% to the GDP of their own country. In Nigeria, as we speak, of course, we should be proud to say that the small and medium-scale enterprises still contribute about 47% to the GDP, which can be better, though. And I believe with the vibrant youths we have in this hall and everywhere in this country, we believe that we can actually take this to the next level. Entrepreneurship is not just about us doing something for ourselves or looking at something that we can do for our immediate family, but rather is about creating opportunities. Now, looking at certain features of what you need to consider yourself to be an entrepreneur. Some people, it is just inherent in them, it's inbuilt. Why some people, you have to go through the process. You have to learn. You have to undergo certain skills acquisition and the likes. I respect my brothers from the East. They do quite a lot when it comes to this. They position people to go and learn skill. They put somebody closer to a master, learn for years, 5 years, 6 years, thereabouts, with the joy of, after this session, this person who's going to be established as an entrepreneur, have a shop and all that. Meanwhile, what the person is actually learning, the skills, the failures of the master is actually very key, which sometimes you may not gain, you may not be able to even buy with whatever amount you have. So this, I want us to say that learning is also part of this. Learn a business skill as much as possible. You may have some, foundational knowledge, but at the same time, you still need to look at people that have gone through the process. You still need to meet mentors. You need mentors. People that have gone through this process, people that have learned, that have made mistakes. When you are meeting mentors, when you are meeting people that have this skill, don't just ask them for success stories. Ask them for their failures. Ask them for what they've done wrong. How they were able to fail and still pick. How they were able to fail and still succeed after all. I want to say that for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you need mentors, good mentors that have gone through this process. Also, because of the time given to me, I'm just going to do a brief summary of this whole thing. Looking at this, sometimes you have something inherent in you, but you don't know. But I must say, for whatever it is that you believe in God first. Seek a divine direction. You may have it in you, but then when you pray about it, maybe sometimes it can be revealed to you. It is very, very important. Also, you must be a problem solver. Like I said, identify a need in your society. Once you identify the need, then you know you must be a problem solver. Solving that problem, it's actually creating value, and when you create value, you get more money. By getting more money, you are creating opportunities in your immediate environment and the nation at large. Also, I must say that there is no how you want to be an entrepreneur and you don't have passion for whatever it is that you want to do. The passion must be there. What is it that you have passion for? Is it shoes? For ladies, is it just makeup that you like doing? It's a business. It's doing well in the world right now. Anything that you have passion for, go for it. Even when you are not making money in the next 3 to 5 years, you don't mind because you know you have passion for that thing. Eventually, you will get to that level. But if you are just doing it, for any single failure you face, the next thing is, I don't think I can handle this again. You want to back out for a white-collar job, restrict your movements, restrict even your potentials with the white-collar job. I'm not saying that is bad, but then you want to decide which category you want to fall into. And I would say, no matter how much you think of entrepreneurship, first thing that must come to your mind is about risk. You must be able to take risk. Don't just take risk. Take calculated risk. Don't just dive into it. If you're rushing, as the going say, you rush out. Take calculated risk. Don't give people money to design feasibility studies in paper. It's always very good. It's always greener. They will tell you, no, it is feasible, after you must have paid, of course. It is very good. But at the same time, I will advise, don't pay for feasibility studies. Do it yourself. DIY. Do it yourself. Do your feasibility study yourself. Go into the market. Understand your market. Who are the categories of people that you want to sell to? Who are those people that you want to address? What is the real job to be done? What is the main issue that you want to handle? Do it yourself. Identify the issues. Know how much that will be required. You can even project a loss for 3 years. It doesn't matter. In as much as eventually you are going to break through and become better than what it is. So look into that and understand this basis. On this note, I am going to say that whatever idea you have, it doesn't have to be the most logical idea. That people have to start processing. You need to call a psychologist, you need to call a professor to process your idea. It doesn't have to be the most logical idea. By the time you say, people are like, oh, really? I thought of this, but I did not put it down. I didn't put it in perspective. It doesn't have to be the most logical idea. Come up with something. Dare yourself. Also, it doesn't have to be the most obvious idea. Something that people would not even think of sometimes. It doesn't have to be the most obvious idea. And thirdly, it doesn't have to be popular. It doesn't have to be popular. Look at it for himself. Understand what it is you are presenting. And on a final note, before I leave here, I'm sure we all know who Richard Branson is. Somebody in the house? Richard Branson. We do. Thank you. Who? Thank you very much. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin, tried 400 times. People said he failed 400 times. He tried different ideas 400 times before he eventually achieved one. Colonel Sanders, I'm sure we all know who this person is too. We patronize him. KFC. Tried recipes 1,009 times before he eventually got that KFC recipe. I can go on and on, but I must mention Thomas Edison. Who knows him? Everybody? Electric bulb. How many times, please? Somebody. 10,000 times before he was able to do this we are all looking. 10,000 times. How many times have you tried your own idea before giving up? How many times have you defended a proposal? I leave you to that story. Go and think through it. Entrepreneurship is the way forward. Our GDP must grow through you, me, and everybody in this house, and the entire youth. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Before you leave, please come back. Even our own President Muhammadu Buhari tried 4 times before he became president.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So, you've not told us what you do in Courtville and how it benefits an average Nigerian youth and how the Nigerian Youth Parliament can partner.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I like that. I've been getting 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so I just have to manage. Firstly, Courtville Business Solution PLC, like I said, is an IT firm. Is the patent owner of AutoReg, vehicle registered in Nigeria, at least in about 19 states in Nigeria. And we do something called skills acquisition. As I speak to you, we are commencing the last quarter for this year tomorrow in number 38 Commercial Avenue, Sabo, Yaba, in Lagos. And we do this as a corporate social responsibility to the community. And we see people traveling from all over the states in Nigeria to partake in these events. And what we do is we have different categories of these skills: bead making, fashion designing, photography, digital marketing, and the likes. About 19 or 20 categories. And what we do eventually, having gone through the training process, we match people with certain, we call them their mentors in that field. To be able to, 3 days, 1 week training session may not be enough for whoever that wants to actually invest in such business to have the adequate skill required. So we match them with various professionals in that field, and they do a follow-up for people that showed interest to continue that trend. We do a follow-up, pay for the person's, whatever it is, the deals that are supposed to put the person through. And eventually, what you are looking at now is to actually establish such person having completed the training process. And of course, Mr. Speaker, this is a lot of money. And from the little the company is doing to, impact into the environment, this is what we do. And we believe with a large, assistance from this able body and for whoever that is willing to impact in Nigerian youth, of course, we are open for discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Before you go, I want to tell you as the Speaker of Nigerian Youth Parliament and as the Chief Marketer of the Parliament, that the Parliament have vibrant young men and women leaders that could partner with you, particularly in terms of outreach. They are leaders, we are leaders from all territorial districts. So if you want a national grassroots touch to what you're doing, then definitely it will be very, very essential that you partner with us, because everybody here represents a senatorial district. One, they are youth, they know who to connect to, they stay in their senatorial districts, and they know how they can facilitate youth for this. Be rest assured that our partnership is going to make a lot of things happen in the positive regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
In terms of partnership and collaboration.
We're looking forward to that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes. Distinguished colleagues, we admitted the MD and CEO of Women Africa 2. And when some people came into the hall, some people were looking at my face because they were wearing the same type of shirt I've been wearing for 2 days in the hotel, Women Africa. So before you criticize me, you should know the reasons why. I'm not an advocate of gender cuts here. and she'll be telling us more on Women Africa, on empowering young women. So the powerful Deputy Speaker, hope you mobilize the young women of the Parliament for this. Soma, you should step to the podium for your presentation, so we can take all our presentations quickly, and from there we can proceed to our deliberations. And before she starts, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to move that we suspend our rules to also accommodate, further accommodate Charles Olufemi Folayan. Is the special technical assistant to the SA, Youth and Student Affairs.
What is SA, sir?
Senior assistant, special assistant to the President of Youth and Student Affairs.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's been represented by SA. Thank you.
Deputy Minority Leader.
On behalf of the Minority Leader and my colleagues, I second the motion. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, if you are in support of the motion, say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say no. Nay. If you are in support, say aye. Aye. If you are against, say no. The ayes have it. Ma.
The Speaker of the House, a distinguished parliamentarian, and all invited guests. I want to greet you all. I want to talk about Women Africa a little. I think we have said a lot about many things, but I don't think that we have all the time in the world. So Women Africa is a faith-based organization that is out to fulfill in the open space between what women are known for and what women can do to Africa to better their lives. And I always say that I am a Christian and Women Africa is faith-based, but I'm not an extremist because I have passion for my religion, which is being a Christian, and also I have a passion for humanity. And that is why the Women Africa can reach out to anybody. Whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, we can reach out to you when we are at the peak of our events. We operate as a sustainable development organization in that we do not believe in giving you food to eat today and not eat tomorrow. For instance, if I have a conference and I'm inviting you for a conference to give you wrapper or rice, maybe 10 cups of rice, 20 cups of rice, it's not enough to sustain you. So we are looking at something that will sustain you, that will put food on your table and for that of your children. So we do not believe in such things like giving you, they say, teach me how to fish so that I'll be a better fisherman. And we do not also believe in acquiring skills, and not empowering the people to take off from where they have stopped. For instance, I heard the speaker say something about skill acquisition after training. What next? And the Women Africa is interested in the what next. It's not just in the training, but after training, what next? Because if you are trained for a particular skill and you are not able to stand out to do that which you have been trained for, sooner or later, whatever you have known will not be there again. Women Africa is known for helping the less privileged, mother, children, and all these things. It is not as if others have not done it. A lot have done it, but we want to be sure. Are they actually doing it? It's not coming out to the television and telling people that you have been able to reach out to the less privileged, while there are still a lot of them calling for help here and there. And I'll also say, if you say you want to reach out to the less privileged, you cannot sit in a glass house and reach out to them. You have to come down to the grassroots to be able to reach out to the less privileged, as far as you are saying that they are the less privileged. The Woman Africa has created a scholarship scheme, and before we started the scholarship scheme, I thought to myself, I said, if an average Nigerian, even more than if some people that are not even up to an average Nigerian can pay 1 million naira to pay their children's school fees for a year. And I thought and I said to myself, if my son's school fees can be 1 million naira a year, I should be able to take out 10% of that school fees to be able to invest in anybody who is ready to go to school. And we started by empowering 5 university students. That was in 2009, and most of them now are graduates. And we're also able to reach out to the people that are in the secondary school, about 10 of them, that same year. The next year, we're able to empower about 6 of them in the university also. And also, we have also done a lot of things in the lives of the youth. And recently, we're able to empower 50 students in the University of Abuja for the next 4 years they will be in school. We are not boasting of what we can do, but we are saying that many of us can do it. And I'll always say, if every crumb that falls from a rich man's table can be put to the less privileged, the world would be a better place for us to stay. I've also thought, while I was seated there and hearing you people talk, I said to myself, what I am looking out for in these youth that are sitting here is not what I am seeing, these arguments here, conflict here and there. It is as if we are inheriting what our elders are already doing. So I am seeing it as something that is not healthy for you, youth. Like you said, youth is from 18 to 35 years. I think I am older than that. So I am speaking on a neutral ground and saying it today to you that before you can move forward as youth of Nigeria, you must speak with one voice. And of course, I've also seen a situation where you can say that somebody is so bad, a leader is so bad, and everybody comes together to say, we know that you are bad, come and lead us, let us see what you will do. And at the end of the day, it takes how many years to rule? If it is 4 years, at the end of the 4 years, that particular person will do what? Will come down. By then, you will know that his desire has been fulfilled. It's either he is failing or he is not failing. So I'm only talking about the things that I have observed. And I also see that leadership is aimed, that is respect in leadership is aimed. So as a youth of Nigeria, you first and foremost must aim the respect of the people. Elders. We are looking at people fighting in the House of, in the Senate, people breaking people's heads. Those are our fathers. And we are saying that we are not too young, to rule. So if you're saying that you're not too young to rule, you must set a standard. And it is this standard that the older generation will look at and say that, of a truth, these people have impressed us. Let us do what they say. But as long as there is strife in the house and malice, they will always use you for their dirty deals. And you must fall to it because you do not have what it takes to stand. I'm saying it the way I feel that it is supposed to be said. And I was also asking myself a question. As you are all seated, we are talking about Nigerian Youth Council, we are talking about Parliament. Where are you going to? It is a big question. We need to ask ourselves. You need to ask yourselves. We have gathered and we have been gathering. Where are we really going to? Are we trying to say that in the nearest future that we are going to take up the leadership of this country? These are the things that we need to know. And that is what will make some organization to say, I am in support of the Youth Parliament or the Nigerian National Youth Council of Nigeria. But apart from that, I mean, it will be difficult for somebody to stick out his neck or her neck to say, I want to support you. Before we can say we will support you, it is that we are seeing the best in you. I also looked at, we are talking about raising leaders. Like I've said, fighting is not part of it. And if you must succeed, like I said, you need to speak in one voice. You must not. And of course, I have also heard you talk about bringing the people together to unite them. It is a very good thing. I am friendly to the parliament. I'm also friendly to the Nigerian National Youth Council of Nigeria. I have been able to communicate with both of them. And I see that there is enough that you owe this country. And you must give out your best. And your best will be, like you said, bringing the people together and reconciling them. It doesn't take anything to say, I want peace. We are talking about peace. Tell me, how can the peace come when we cannot even have peace with them? So we are looking for this peace, and this peace must start from you, like you said. And we will also be watching to see that, of a truth, you give us this peace that we are looking for. And if you do all these things, I promise you, the Woman Africa will always stand by you and will always be there for you. But all we want is you speaking one voice. And if you speak in one voice, you can bring out a leader and say, this is the person that we want to rule us. And we will all follow like as if we are Mumu, even though we are not Mumu. Did you hear me that? So that is all I have to say. I told you I don't have much to say to you today.
Thank you very much, ma. As in that was, we were being charged to be more patriotic, to be more united. But before you go, ma, you have to kindly tell us once again what you have for the Nigerian Youth Parliament, particularly in empowering the young ladies, and how our erudite young ladies there can also partner with Women Africa to achieve its objectives and goals.
Yes, the Women Africa, like I said earlier, we give scholarship to young people who are not able to help themselves. And that will also mean that we look out for those ones that are very intelligent. But I'll always say, the most intelligent are not always the best. Anybody can be anything at any point in time. So we are saying, as our organization, if you have such people, we'll look into their issues and we are able to give out our best, like in maybe giving some of them scholarship and also helping our women, because they say that if you're able to impact a woman's life, you impact the whole world. So we say that we'll be able to do this, and if you partner with us, we'll be able to also tell you what we can do and what we cannot do. And we also are looking out to other organizations. If they are able to come to our aid, if we are able to partner, impact 100 persons, we'll, now that we are just a person, we'll be able to impact 1,000 when we are many.
Okay. Yes.
Questions?
Since it's Women Africa, how many states benefit?
Since
it's Women Africa, how many states benefit in Nigeria?
Okay, for instance, the first time we started, it was in Abuja, where we impacted 10 women. And I think it was, we have people in the house who were there. And the second place we went to was in Lagos, where we empowered over 100 women. And we gave them, like, we don't say that we are too much. Like the grinding machine that that you can use to grind your tomato, beans, and all these things. If you're able to do that, in a week you can make 3,000 and decide to, in a day you can even make 2,000 and decide to use 1,000 and keep 1,000. And we give them like sewing machine, popcorn making machine, and I cannot name all of them. So we have done in Lagos. We have also gone to Akwa Ibom, where we empower 200 women because they only ask for a little. For some of them that are selling crayfish, dry fish, and tomato, vegetables, and all these things. And then we were also able to empower about 100 women in Calabar, where your speaker was present there.
Can I go ahead? Hello.
Even in Kenya, yes. In Kenya, we're able to, we also have a scholarship program in Kenya where we have about 15 children from the orphanage that are under our scholarship. Yes.
Honorable Blessing.
Gender. Thank you, my able speaker and my dear colleagues. My name is Blessing Ederitasia, representing the Southern Central District of Cross River State. From Africa, I'm so happy to hear your voice as a woman. But I have some few questions here to ask. One, who is the founder of Mama Africa, Woman Africa? Two, is Woman Africa political? Three, which class of women are you empowering? Four, what is the state structure like? Five, how do you identify these ones that are low privilege? You know, politicians can polish anybody to be a low privilege in the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Those are financial questions.
Yes. No, it's good. She has asked a lot of good questions. For instance, we are never going to, I am the founder, Ijome Miribe, is the founder of Woman Africa, and I'm never going to be a politician. I'm never going to stand and vote. I can vote for, I can love anybody because I am a Christian and a child of God. But I happen to be in the midst of people who want me to be friends with them, and that is what I am doing. And you also talked about how do we identify the less privileged. We have coordinators in all these states who can actually come out to say, okay, these are the ones that are actually not doing well, and we look into their issues. I think that's the second to the last question. And you asked another question, can you remind me? Okay, the structure, we have coordinators in those states that I have mentioned. Any other question? I think it's not. How do I key in? How do you key in? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we are just, we have an office at Jabi. So if you want to identify with us, you can have our address or phone numbers of one of our women are here, some of them. So you can reach out to any of them, yes.
All right, the last question from Honorable Sharon. Gender.
Honorable Sharon Omotayo, member representing Edo North Youth in the Nigerian Youth Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My first question is, how do you get funding? Do you have international bodies that donors with you? Then, where is your office in Edo State? Are there people that have benefited in Edo State? If not, what are your plans towards it?
Okay, for instance, if we are going to a particular state, it means that that state, somebody have recognized us and they are wanting us to come. So if you're in Edo State, since we have not gone to Edo State, and then you're saying, okay, Woman Africa, we have something for you to come in Edo State, we can come. You have to pass through a lot of process in the office, but not very difficult ones. You have to write, we have to know you, and be sure that we are not going to enter into the hands of kidnappers. You understand? Then we can now come. Okay, the funding, yes. I am a pastor and I'm a businesswoman. I don't believe in just praying. I do a lot of things. I'm into properties. I have schools. Adasokoro. I have a lot of other businesses, but it's not enough. That's not enough. We still need this funding, because if we are reaching out to 100 persons, like I said now, if we have people that are funding us, we will have a lot of people. Like I've always said, if suppose I'm not a politician, I am said to be okay, this person is in charge of the women in Nigeria, what I will do is, every fund that is coming in, I'll share it into the 36 states. If it's 300 million, like it used to come in, I know that billions of naira dollars come into this country for women. But where are the monies? We do not know. I don't have a special person on any organization funding us now. We are only on our own, doing the best and the little that we can do to add value to humanity. That is what we are doing. So So, like we have also heard, a lot of monies are seen here and there. The monies are flying everywhere. If the money reaches our hands, I bet you will be hearing testimonies, because testimonies have not started rolling in. But anywhere you go that we have gone to, you will hear that Woman Africa has impacted them.
All right, thank you very much. The MD and CEO of Woman Africa, Mama, as she's rightly called, we are very grateful. We hope that we can collaborate and partner to further bring these benefits to the youth of Nigeria. Thank you very much, particularly the young women of Nigeria. Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, we will soon proceed into, yes, the last presentation for today. But before then, I have a letter of appreciation from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, which reads, Right Honorable Beadele, Speaker, Nigerian Youth Parliament, Senate Wing Room 2.1, White House National Assembly, 3 Zone, Abuja. Right Honorable, letter of appreciation.
Order, please.
I sincerely acknowledge the receipt of your congratulatory letter on my appointment as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. While thanking you for the kind words and prayers expressed in your letter, I want to assure you that I will continually strive to justify the confidence reposed on me. Undoubtedly, the challenges of nation building requires the concurrent contributions of all. I therefore hope to count on your cooperation at all times. Please accept the assurances of my warmest regards. And like we invited him, although with a short notice, he sent a reply, special invitation as keynote speaker on the economic policies of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration, the benefits to the Nigerian youth. I'm directed to acknowledge the receipt of your letter of 6 November 2017 on the above subject and convey the regrets of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, for his inability to attend the third sitting of the Nigerian Youth Parliament due to prior commitments on the same date. However, the SGF shares the noble objectives of the Nigerian Youth Parliament and wishes you exciting and fruitful deliberations. Please accept the warm regards of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Ifiok Bazi Abia, Assistant Director for Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Distinguished colleagues, will be bringing in Mr. Charles O. Femi, representing the Special Assistant to Mr. President on Youth and Student Affairs.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Let him get to the podium and we'll observe. Yes, Honorable Kabiru Dala. Which order?
Order 13D. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, page 15. I'm Honorable Dr. Ibrahim Kabiru Dala. I represent Nasarawa South Senatorial District, the only doctor in the parliament, please. Order 30 days. In the cases where adequate provision is not made in the standing order, the parliament shall refer to the practice in the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, it may interest you to know that we are young people in this parliament. It is very, very unfortunate that the SA to the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Comrade Nasiru Adama, is not here to represent the young people of this country. It is as if he has no regard for this parliament. How can the SA that claim to represent the young people in the Federal Republic of Nigeria is not here to represent our interests or to protect our interests? Sir, I don't see the reason why Mr. Charles Ofemi, that is one of our own, to be standing here to address the men of integrity, the men from the north and cranny of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker.
Men and women.
Mr. Speaker, we cannot be seated here while a technical official or a technical officer to the SA to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will address this great parliament of the third session. Mr. Speaker, please, I'm still standing on the existing protocol, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am not happy because some of us in the last government were fortunate enough to associate, or we have associated ourselves with the immediate past SA to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Comrade Jude Imagwe, MON. It is on record that during Jude Imagwe, a lot of things that happened. The SA then has took the parliament, the NANS, and other youth organizations to the president to discuss the future of this country. But this SA, I think, has spent almost 2 years now. He has never signed a letter. SA, anything that has to do with students, he will advise or he will ask his technical officer on student matter or on administrative matter to sign letter. What kind of SA do we have in this country? We are pleading with Mr. President that as a matter of urgency, you should remove him or you should resign. And Nasura Adama should resign. So on this note, I want to plead with the House to support the motion whereby Charles Ofemi will not be standing here to address the one honored member of the Nigerian Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. As in, that is well taken. As in, the point of order is seriously in order. Yes, let us go to, okay. Honorable Peter Ejure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for at least for the first time recognizing me throughout this sitting. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you very much, and I want to align myself.
I have moved a motion, Mr. Speaker.
I want to align myself. I want to align myself to my honourable colleague, who
Please,
does observe something.
Before I take the voice note, as in let people express, maybe we might have a contrary view to that. So let us hear from the parliamentarian. So come on.
All right, I remain Honorable Ejue Peter Raymond, representing the good and the bad people of Northern Senatorial District. I am a Democrat. I want to align myself with the discussion of my honorable colleague. We understand, and I want to recall that before now, the SSA had been invited to these chambers to address us, and he has not made himself available. And I understand that twice, yes, as corrected. He is one person, by virtue of his position, very close to the constituency where we are representing. And I think it is an affront to the integrity of these honorable members in this house. However, I understand that the person he sent is very qualified to address us. But I want to suggest that we are not ending this sitting today. Let us again give him another opportunity between tomorrow, Thursday, or thereabout. Let him appear in person to come and address this house. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. Thank you.
Hello, I have not called for the motion. We are just taking views. We are looking at as if we will still have contrary views. So let us see, maybe we will still have a contrary view. Honorable Philip.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for recognizing me. This is not a contrary view. I'm aligning myself fully with the submission of Honorable Dala and the last speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remember vividly this honorable parliament paid a courtesy visit on the SSA to the President on Youth and Student Affairs, led by your humble self, Mr. Speaker, in honor of his appointment as SS to the President on Youth and Sports. Mr. Speaker, in the course of our sitting, this is the third sitting, we've had cause to have in this hallowed chamber the Deputy Senate President, Speaker House of Representatives, House Leader, Senate Minority Leader, governors, and so on and so forth, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, here we have a situation that the SSA to the President on Youth and Student Affairs has consistently been sending his aides to represent him anytime this parliament demands his attention. Mr. Speaker, let us give him the opportunity between tomorrow and Thursday to make himself available before the parliament to address Nigerian youth, because we represent the interests of Nigerian youth. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Casey Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Casey Gibson, Rivers West. Mr. Speaker, my view on this matter is rather contrary. Well, before I take my position, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that yes, what my colleagues have said so far might be correct. But I want to plead to all of us, let us have this sense of delineation. I want to delineate this matter. There is an office we should respect, no matter what. And there's a person we should call to question. The SSA is an office, and there's an individual minding that office, which we are questioning today. But because this house is a respected house, and we represent the largest demography in Nigeria, which is the young people, there is a need for us to accord respect where we should. So I want to plead to my colleagues, all of us, that one, we should respect the office which the SSA occupies. Two, we should equally accord regard to our colleague here, to most of us, our senior colleague. We should give him that regard that is here before us. And for the fact that the SA has disrespected this house, if it is what we have interpreted it to be his antecedents in the past, for the fact that he has today sent one of his officials to address us today, I'm sure there must be a reason. So I want to plead respectfully to my colleagues that we should hear the representative of the SSA. Let's hear him out. We still have another time to deal with this matter. We have a better part of today. We have a better part of tomorrow. We will deal with this matter. We mandate the leadership of this house to act on our resolutions. Please, Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Casey. Honorable Felicity.
Mr. Speaker, my fellow colleagues, Honorable Hebafan Felicity Utangi, representing the youth of Benin Central. I align myself strongly with the motion by colleague Dala Kabiru and all the others in support, but I do not align myself with Honorable Casey Gibson's submission. I strongly hold that we should not allow the technical assistant to the SA to speak with us today or address us. Instead, he should take a message to the senior special assistants that we will not allow anyone speak to us on his behalf. He has to come here as our senior and our boss before the president to talk to us or address us. Going with what Honorable Casey has said, if we allow him to speak to us and the message is taken, he will not take it lightly, he will take it lightly. But when we refuse that he should not talk to us, but take the message to him that we want to see him, it will be more serious. That is my submission. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What order, sir?
Page 15, order 14. Mr. Speaker, any member may rise at any time to speak upon a matter of privilege suddenly arising, and he shall be preferred to move without notice a motion declaring that a contempt or breach of privilege has been committed, or referring the matter to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. But if the matter is raised in Committee of the whole Parliament, the chairman should leave the chair to report progress. Mr. Speaker, it is a privilege all of us are here as members of the Nigerian Parliament. Let us not abuse this privilege. We have even today received representation people who have represented personalities that were invited to this hall chamber. Mr. Speaker, this is an SSA to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria we're talking about. Mr. Speaker, it is more disrespectful. Mr. Speaker, it is more disrespectful for us. Mr. Speaker, it is more disrespectful that this man should be sent back.
Chief Whip, do your work.
Mr. Speaker, it is more disrespectful
Chief Whip, control
that
this house.
this man should be asked to go. We demand that this man should be allowed to make his point, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Thank you very much. I will just take few more comments, then I will take the vote. Yes, I know. I will still go to the motion, please. I know there's a motion on ground, but I'm trying to take views just as to give clarity to this issue, to give us opportunity to dwell on it well before we take our decision as a parliament. Honorable Prosper Ayere.
Thank you, Mr. Order, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to speak. Mr. Speaker, we have always believed that the development of the Nigerian youth must be firmly rooted under the artistic sensibility of our people, encouraged by audience response to most of the theater experimental programs of the Nigerian youth. I think very strongly, Mr. Speaker, that the essay to the President has undermined the capacity of these hallowed chambers. Mr. Speaker, I want to quickly state here that I know so much about the effort you have personally put to put the Parliament where it is as of now. What we are saying is an embarrassment to this House and to the Nigerian youth in entirety, Mr. Speaker. Sending his aid, sorry for this embarrassment, please. Sending you here, I think the whole idea is dead on arrival. The secretary to the federal government communicated to the speaker in writing that, please, I cannot come officially. Now, your boss sent you to come and speak to us. I don't know how he looks at us anyways. But however, Mr. Speaker, I want to move that...
There is a motion.
Okay, yes. I want to, by this underdome of mine, I want to support Dr. Dalla's submission that we should please let this face out, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your time. And I want to employ all honorable members to be in tune with this submission. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. God bless Nigerian Youth Parliament.
Honorable Sheme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to stand before my respected distinguished colleagues. Mr. Speaker, in handling Mr. Speaker, in handling Nigerian Youth Parliament, one has to be very, very conscious on the issue, because we are all representing our constituent here. And this is not the first time an invitee sent a representative to this parliament. For these single reasons, we have to give him a listening eyes to hear what he can. This is Nigerian Youth Parliament, sir. We are not National Career Council of Nigeria, and also we are not from National Association of Career Students. Is Nigerian Youth Parliament issue.
Thank you very much. Please put up your mic. I'm coming forward here. Yes, Honorable Ngari Dogo.
Mr. Speaker, the principal officer,
Order, please.
Honorable members, The names are Honorable Alhaji Ngari Dogo, representing Borno Central Senatorial District. Mr. Speaker, I observe so many things here. I believe the NYP will be very just and fair in our dealings. We say it, or so many people say it, the office of the SA undermined NYP, which I don't really agree. I was part of the team that paid courtesy call to him in several times, which he has received and listened to us. So I believe honor is given to whom honor deserves. Since he has sent representation and the delegate is here standing, I see no reason why we should undermine the person standing on his behalf. What is the essence of having the technical officers and other aides in the SA office? If we have any issue today, as young persons, I believe he is the right person to come in and then liaise between our between the Parliament and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I urge this Honorable House to allow the delegation to speak to us and then take the message back to him, since we still have more days. Thank you very much.
Sharon, somebody is talking. You don't have to raise your hand, please.
Honorable Hafiza Mande.
Oh, finally. My name is Hafiza Mande, representing Zamfara State West. Please, I want the House and the members to understand that I want the House members to understand this is a house of dignity and we should not personalize things. Please, whatever the SA has done or has not done to this house, when he sent a representative, please, we should accept him, allow him to speak, not because we disrespect, not because we feel he disrespects this house, but it's because when we do things with honor, and then we expect honor in return. We can't just act like, oh, he shouldn't speak, we shouldn't allow him to speak because he didn't do this.
You are making conclusions, as in make your positions and let's take the votes.
Yes,
state your positions, please.
We should respect his representative as honorably as we can. So when we go there, when he comes here, he will respect us as honorably and dignified in the house. Please.
The Chief Whip.
It's my time to talk. Nobody should talk. You know, I will not take permission to whip somebody. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable members, I want to use this privilege to welcome the representative of the SA on youth matters. It's really disheartening that the SA on youth, whom we all believe is number one priority, should be issues like this. I wonder what we take the attention of the SA away from this honorable house. Nevertheless, I want us to look at the person standing. He is called Charles. We know him as a youth activist, a very responsible youth, a very dignified youth, a youth with class. And it's very unfortunate that sometimes Chief Whip is talking. Sometimes I wonder why the government will make some selections without considering some youth that merit it. I never expect Charles standing here as a representative of the SA, but the SA, because everybody knows Charles as a very responsible youth. I want to plead before this house that if my colleagues will agree with me, we allow Charles speak on. We'll go on voting now. Let's allow Charles speak and let's accord him this respect. I so move.
Thank you very much. The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to make my stand known. as the leader of the House. First, I am disappointed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Student Affairs. If you go by our record, our last sitting, we invited the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Student Affairs. He declined. Our inauguration time, the young man declined again. Then the other time, we went as far as going to Kano for an official assignment. I personally called him. The speaker called him. That we are in your state for an official assignment to meet with the Emir of Kano. And we also observed a plenary at the State House of Assembly. Unfortunately, the young man declined. The SA is a special friend to the Parliament, but the integrity of this youth Parliament should be its number one priority. And as such, I want to make my submission clear to this House. You people give me the power as the leader of the House. I want this young man standing before us to take a bow and leave.
God bless the leader. Hey! Leader! God bless the leader.
Please. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Student Affairs gave you a call yesterday night that is going to be in the plenary today. Please, attention. Chief Whip, Chief Whip.
No Berlin conference, please. Who is going to whip the Chief Whip?
Mr. Speaker, the International Youth Day, I personally went to the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Student Affairs to inform him that the youth of this country, particularly the leadership of the 6 geopolitical zones, need to meet with Mr. President. And he told me he's going to do something about it, that SGF refused to release some funds for him to do that actions. I feel it's just an excuse. Mr. Charles, we are so sorry that we can't take your speech.
No, you have not. Leader, please submit. You are jumping into conclusions.
I'm seconding motion raised by Honorable Dala.
Distinguished colleagues, we have heard from everybody, from the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm going to put the question now. If you are in support that Mr. Charles Ofemi should not represent Comrade Nasiru Adama, the Special Assistant to the President on Youth and Student Affairs, unless he comes to this Allo chamber himself, in person, say hi. Hi. If you are against, say nay. Once again, I'll be raising this question, this motion. If you are in favor of the motion of Honorable Kabiru Dala, say hi. Hi. And if you are against, say nay. The ayes have it. I'm so sorry, my leader. Comrade Ofemi is my leader, but leader, the Parliament has taken a decision. Kindly help us inform the SA that we'll be expecting him in person before Thursday. He still have the blanket of time to come before us. He is a member of our constituency, and there are certain cogent issues that we need to raise with him. So please, sir, tell him that we need to see him in person as our colleague friend, and brother. Thank you very much, sir. Distinguished colleagues, yes, we'll be going back to our discussion. We were on the Youth Council, and I believe we stopped with Honorable Adetayo was on his feet before we interrupted him. So please, let's have you.
The Right Honorable Speaker, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Prince Adetayo Abimbola Adekunle. I represent the youth of Oyo Central Senatorial District. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said about the ongoing crisis in the National Youth Council of Nigeria. While I would not want to belabor the issue or go on unnecessary tautology and repetition, I would just advise that we take a very, very careful position on the subject matter. First and foremost, as Honorable Ezeala said, that 3 court judgments had been given in favor of a certain presidential aspirant or candidate, as it were. But with my little knowledge of law, I understand that once a notice of appeal has been filed and motion for stay of execution gotten, the judgment automatically remains in the cooler while waiting for the pronouncement of the Court of Appeal. Because the 3 judgments came from courts of coordinate jurisdiction, the Federal High Court in Lagos, in Abuja, and I think one in Benin. So I would recommend us, Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, in close collaboration with the Nigerian Youth Parliament, set up a committee that will serve as impartial arbiters between the 4 warring factions. Because, as we all know, our judicial processes takes very long time before we conclude them. So if the Parliament, in conjunction with the ministry, can serve as arbitrators to wade into the issues of those 4 factions, let the 4 factions be advised to submit probably 1 or 2 names to serve as caretaker committee to conduct elections into the National Youth Council of Nigeria. I believe that if this is done, it will go a long way in ameliorating the crisis in the Youth Council. That's side 1. Side 2, in my own humble opinion, I do not see an organization registered under Part C of the Company and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, as the umbrella body of Nigerian youths. In my honest opinion, again, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the NYCN, to me, is in the same league with the NURTW or any other cooperative society. So far, it is registered under Part C of the Company and Allied Matters Act. In this regard, the Nigerian Youth Parliament enjoys one privilege, which is presidential proclamation before inauguration. This is the same privilege enjoyed by the Senate and the House of Representatives. So, in view of this, as long as we have a protracted crisis in the National Youth Council of Nigeria, I want to recommend that the federal government withdraws the recognition of that body pending the resolution of the crisis, either by arbitration or by a court of competent jurisdiction. Honorable Darlington made allusions to the fact that we should write to the CJN to make sure the appeals that is being slated for hearing be heard faster. I'm sorry, the Parliament may not be able to take that position. Otherwise, we might be seen as busybodies in law. I'm aware that only parties to a suit can request for accelerated hearing, and even at that, they must show urgency before that application can be granted. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the House, the Nigerian Youth Parliament, otherwise known as the House, should set up a committee in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth and Sports to serve as the arbiter between the four warring factions, advise members of the warring factions to withdraw lawsuits from court so that good sense can prevail. And as I said earlier, the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports should withdraw recognition given to the National Youth Council of Nigeria pending the resolution of the crisis. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished Honorable. Honorable Lukamis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues. I remain Aminu Lukman Enitan, representing Lagos East Senatorial District. I am very happy we are discussing the issue of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. However, when we started this discussion today, I came to a realization, and that realization was of the fact that we are still on the issue of making both the Youth Parliament, the Nigerian Youth Parliament, and strong bodies like that, which were products of resolutions of the United Nations, to become Act of Parliament in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because we cannot say the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development to be interfering in the case of just an NGO, just one NGO, and it's holding the whole Federal Republic Ministry of Youth and Sport. No. Instead, I want to appeal, because of the resolutions of the United Nations that called for the establishment of these bodies, that the government, one, makes both body an Act of Parliament. Two, that the CAC deregisters the name National Youth Council of Nigeria. It is only the federal government of this country that has the right to have that name. Three, that the Federal Ministry of Youth come up with a directorate that will manage the full affairs of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. But that is the first part, an open approach. In addition to that, there is a closed approach that will help us eliminate the overage set of people we are dealing with in this system. That will help us eliminate those that has brought the National Youth Council of Nigeria into dismay. That will help us eliminate those who have brought the National Youth Council of Nigeria into an organization of disrepute. I think I have a consultancy position in which, if properly followed, I want to attest to the fact that we will have a very vibrant National Youth Council of Nigeria. And I would want to submit, still on the same positions, that they come up as an Act of Parliament, and they are well recognized by the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That name, NYCN, today be deregistered, and nobody have the right than the federal government to use that name. So when the federal government is establishing a directorate, after it has been an Act of Parliament, forget everything. Who will take the federal government to court? So yes, Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Please, before you go, the sergeant at arms have to leave now. And you know we cannot continue these deliberations without the mess. Please, we have to suspend this, but we are seriously working, and two, we have to work on the issue of accommodation now before it gets late. And we have to see that all of us are in a place. If we are all in a place, it is easier to call a meeting whereby we can all be together and deliberate these issues. And that is the purpose why they even put us in an hotel and we were not giving money for accommodation in the first place. So we understand this so that we can have time to engage relevant authorities on this issue. So we would likely be putting an end to this session. The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, having taken enough opinions and suggestions from members and the time being, close to the legislative closing period, I move that the Parliament adjourn till tomorrow, Wednesday, 22nd November 2017. I call on the minority leader to second the motion.
The minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I second the motion moved by the majority leader.
Distinguished colleagues, if you are in support of the motion, say aye. Aye. And if you are against, say no. The ayes have it. We should retire to room 107.
All motions should be handed over to the Chairman, Rules and Business.
Yes, please. All motions today should be handed over to the Chairman of Rules and Business.
Okay, oya sorry. Anjo sọ̀rọ̀. Oya tenukodo. Ah, oh sorry. Àwọn ọ̀gá, we dey be sọ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́.